Okay, we're not doing this one. I'm sorry, chat. I'm here. Welcome on. I'm sorry, chat. I'm malding. I was gonna start 5 minutes ago, but I'm malding. How is everybody doing? I'm malding because the newest generation of AirPods are actually garbage. They are actually garbage. It's insane how much worse they get. Apple products, man. I think this is the last time I buy them. Now, I don't think I bought this. I think Vio bought this for me, to be honest with you. But, like, god damn, they trash. If you want to know what I'm complaining about, I'll be very specific. My charging case was at 71%. I placed my earbuds into the charging case, and it is a clean charging case. There's no debris or anything in there. And I placed them into their holes, into their base, and closed it, and then placed it on my desk to recharge. They did not recharge the earbuds. Yeah, and when somebody's like, I think the overall thing is, it's just that didn't used to happen. It's like a new problem. It's like a new problem with earbuds, and so we're gonna have to reckon with the fact that they suck. So what are we talking about today, chat? We have got ourselves the Oliver Larkin election day. Wow, it's finally here. I'm really proud of Oliver. You know, I think he's got a shot. I think this Florida, and then there's like Wyoming, Alaska, and then specials. I think that's the elections today. There's some special elections as well. I recommend adding the battery meter widget to your phone if not already. It doesn't solve your problem, but it helps monitor. I had to do the same. Yeah, you're so right. I really should. I see they added me to they did add me to the endorsements page. They did add me to the endorsements page, you know, which is awesome, which is hilarious. And it shows one thing, which is just ask, you know. I think in general, it just doesn't matter, but at the same time, it does. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to be on the endorsements page, but I also feel like if you're recognizing other people, then you have to recognize your OG, right? Or else, and then going forward, I'm going to be a little bit harder to, you know, harder to get access to. I mean, I've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for candidates this year. I'm going to, like, legitimately, if this was a presidential campaign, I would be a top bundler back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, not necessarily, this is not ambassador level shit, but like, come on. Yours says Twitch streamer and Hasan says political Twitch streamer. Whatever, it's fine. It's the same shit. What happens if Oliver wins? He immediately has to run against a Republican in a difficult swing district. Can we start on a high note? Our dumbest and most craven op got canceled, nuked his entire account, and canceled all his TV appearances. Days after we reported why ex-Biden spokesperson Michael LaRosa endorsed Mike Rogers over Abdul El Sayed, which included his employment at a Trump-linked lobbying firm and dozens of appearances on Fox News, he suddenly deleted his Twitter/X account. I've reached out to Ballard Partners and LaRosa for comment on his deleting his X account. One wonders if this has to do with claims he's made about Hasan Piker justifying terrorism at 9/11, which he recently repeated on C-SPAN. Earlier this week, it was reported that Hasan Piker had lawyered up and had lawsuits against Scott Jennings, Salem Media, and Fox News seemed unavoidable. I really hope Hasan does this. I really, really hope he does. I don't want to see him not actually follow through. So, we got the Oliver Larkin election day today, Florida elections as well. Obviously, all the Florida elections, including liberals that are not socialists, like Elijah, who I'm rooting for, against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I don't know if you guys saw, but Talrico hired a Republican policy advisor. Joe Manchin, welcome back. And by the way, he's not winning because he's a Republican or anything. He just wants to be a Republican. It's not like anybody's like, oh, James Talrico is good to Republicans. No, Well, Joe Manchin, welcome back. I hope Elijah wins. Yeah, if Elijah wins, like if Elijah had been a Democratic Socialist, he would have guaranteed the win. It's unfortunate he didn't do that. Oh well. I'm one of those people that's like, I mean, just do what Donovan McKinney did. Like, it's not that hard. Did you see we're running out of beef? Unless I'm wrong, Elijah doesn't have the DSA endorsement, right? Tyson Foods is shutting down operations of 2 beef plants, one in Joplin, Illinois, and the other in Eagle Mountain, Utah, due to cattle shortage. The third plant in Pasco, Washington, is looking for a buyer. It was shipped processing to other facilities. Joplin alone had 2,500 employees. People in this country think Green New Deal will stop you from consuming beef, so they vote for people like Trump. We need a competent government. These are thousands of jobs. I think part of the problem with like the left in general is we're very nice, and a lot of us are really interested in ideas, and so we let people kind of take up space that have ideas that are not in any way cooked, like they're half-baked, but you know, they have very strong feelings about, and then those ideas kind of represent us, as opposed to, you know, a more serious political movement, you know, like something like banning meat. Yeah, that's not that's not happening. Cattle farming, here we go, is one of the biggest drivers of climate change and ecological damage. Close more beef plants. I have a counter argument to you. No. We should consume less meat in general, and factory farms are horrific places. I think I could agree with that. I feel like I could agree with that. But I think the best way to do it is advance palatable alternatives, right? Like, make people like to eat the alternatives. You know, like that is the trick. It's not this like kind of paternalistic authoritarian idea of like, we're going to order you not to eat meat. That's a really bad idea. And the reason why it's a bad idea is because food is an intensely personal decision that we make every day. And it's a key source of like just the pleasure of life, and not having control or freedom over our own decisions in such an area feels like an incredible imposition that is not good if you want people to like you. Now, it's not to say we can't do things to encourage better behavior, right? Education, you know, the development, as I said, of more palatable alternatives. If things taste good, people will buy them. You know, like that's the key. Have you seen the leftist chicken farmer on YouTube? Oh yeah, you're talking about Farming While Beige. Farming While Beige is like a really interesting character because I mean, not to get parasocial, but I really fuck with the guy. Like, how do I put this? A lot of the left in America is profoundly unserious. And when I say that, I'm not trying to attack you like an establishment Democrat. I just mean that they don't even know how to be serious. I think the best example is the way that leftists treat Zohran Mamdani. Like, a lot of left-wingers, especially the most radical so-called on Twitter, self-described, they think their job is to be a social media Karen of socialism. Which is, look at all of our like socialist leaders, and if they do anything or they make any political compromise or they have any kind of concession that they're making to the other forces in society, to basically spend all your time screaming that they're a sellout, they're a piece of shit, that they betrayed us, etc., etc. Which is, or yell that they're not doing whatever they want fast enough. AKA, excuse me, customer service, customer socialism, customer service. I've got a complaint. Like, that's what they think being left-wing is, right? And that is profoundly unserious. If you have a problem with Zohran Mamdani, for example, which I do, then you should try to analyze the material conditions that exist on the issue and then power map and develop a strategy to alter those conditions. That sounds like too much work. And I think the perfect example, and unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Also, like, here's a question for you, chat. Who would be the DSA Secretary of Defense? Who would be the DSA Secretary of State? Who would be the DSA? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh. Who would be the DSA Attorney General? And like, what I'm trying to say is, like, DSA right now is underdeveloped, right? It's underdeveloped. And when people are naming non-DSA people, it's like, yeah, no, I get you. That would be the progressive person, but not the DSA person, right? Like, I can name progressive people for some of these jobs, but I certainly can't name DSA people for these jobs. And that's where we've got to level up, right? We've got to level up. If we want to, quote, form a party needs to be a government in waiting. I don't think DSA is a government in waiting yet. Where's our shadow cabinet? Ooh. Oh, wait, is this what it sounds like if you were an adult? Except we don't have that. And unfortunately, a lot of the people are 20-something influencers who, again, think their job is to be a social media Karen. And I don't know how to break people out of this mentality. I really don't. I really don't. Because it's so ubiquitous. It's so normalized that I don't even know where to start. They grow up. No, they don't. That's the thing. You're not going to get wise by getting older. You'll just accept what is. They'll just go, well, I guess I'm kind of a liberal now. Like, they're not going to learn party building from whining on Twitter. Anyway, so Farming While Beige. The thing about Farming While Beige is he doesn't suffer fools gladly, right? Farming While Beige is what I understand. I believe he's like a left-winger, and he's trying to build this like regenerative farming, ethical regenerative farming practice. But he's very blunt about it, and he says, if we do chicken when we farm chicken the way I'm farming chicken, that chicken is 3 times more expensive than the chicken we have now. If you value organic, regenerative, if I don't know if it's 3 times, maybe it's, but I don't want to over exaggerate his prices, but they're much more expensive than the more conventionally farmed chicken. And every single time you make a decision that's not to lower the price, it raises the price, right? And so to compete, he is literally creating an ultra premium product that's focused on a whole bunch of other considerations than just getting the lowest price. And I think like having conversations like that, like, there is no free lunch, is an idea that I think a lot of left-wingers struggle with. And again, it's not to say I don't like that, there's no such thing as a free lunch. What that means is it's a materialist statement. It means that you have trade-offs when you make a decision, right? The problem with it is it's a little excessively simplistic in that there's something called positive externalities and network effects. Sometimes people think it means you can't give free lunch to kids. No, that's not what it means. What it means is if you're giving free lunch to kids, then you're not spending money on something else. You're going to have to cut the SWAT team. SWAT team is not going to get the brand new night vision thermal goggles this year. And instead, we're going to spend that money on giving lunch to the kids. Okay? That's what no free lunch means. Okay? Abdul, Attorney General. No, Abdul would be, if I would have Abdul as I don't even want to waste him on the cabinet, to be honest with you. He's a good political leader. Speaking of elections where DSA needs to be way more organized, have you seen the insane story where one of the Boss Ramen polls, which Boss boosted, was apparently utterly fabricated? Yes. I need to talk to HASAN about Nithya Ramen. I need to talk to HASAN about Nithya because I have been waffling on Nithya so hard. I want to like her. In my heart of hearts, I want to like her. I really, really, really do. But there's just something holding me back. I get really nervous about... She just makes me nervous. I need to talk to her. I need to have a conversation with her. Is she DSA? Yeah, of course. I want to like her. I want to help her. But I'm hanging back because I just feel like there's something... some people I like really like her. The vibe check has not been passed. I need to learn more and I keep putting it off. But she'd be so much better than Bass. I honestly think she's overhated. I think I understand why a lot of people went against her, but I feel like she's overhated and it's kind of cringe. And to be honest, we need to, I feel like she's gotten better. Sounds like a you problem? No. She was not great. Like, she kind of waffled after October 7th and things like that. I want to like her. I'm not trying. It's not a you problem. It's a, I am unabashedly uncompromising on Palestine. Oh, that's interesting, Middle Geek. So I'm definitely leaning in favor of Nithya. I'm leaning yes. I haven't quite pulled the trigger. Yet. I'm leaning yes, but I gotta feel a little bit stronger. I understand that she just did a questionnaire to DSA, so I'm gonna read that offline because I think it's confidential. You should support her if she's waffling. I don't think she's waffling anymore. I think she waffled 2 years ago. It's like an AOC situation. Prediction for Elijah Man. I don't know, guys. I don't fucking know. I want Oliver to win, but that district is like literally the concentration, the highest, most Zionist district in the entire country. But he could win. He had a good poll come back where he was 1 point, where he was 1 point behind. But it's Florida, guys. I want to believe he's gonna pull it off. You know? Can you explain by what you mean by food consumption being extremely personal? I don't know how to explain it more than that. If that doesn't strike you as intuitively true, I don't know what else to say. What about Angela? Oh, Angela? I'm warming up on Angela. I'm gonna hang out with Angela, and I'm gonna get the lay of the land. I think that the problem with DSA-LA is that they are way too conservative, like legitimately conservative, not in the sense of like politically conservative, but in like strategy. They're like the McClellan of DSA chapters. You know what I mean? Do you guys get any Civil War buffs who understand what I'm saying? DSA-LA is the McClellan of DSA chapters, whereas DSA New York is the Grant of DSA chapters, or the, you know what I mean? And I need to replace the leadership of DSA-LA and I'll be the Sherman of DSA chapters, because they're always scared. They're always like, we're outnumbered, even when they outnumber the other side. Of all the Civil War generals, I am General Sherman. And I don't mean that as like, you know, self-aggrandizement. It just means that war is, I believe in total war. You know, it is what it is. These are our enemies. We must burn them out. You know, let's fucking go. No, I'm kidding. Unless. All right. Well, welcome. Good morning, everybody. Oliver is like one of my favorite people. And no matter what happens, you know, today, I feel like he's got a good shot. We'll see, or we'll be able to tell. If he pulls it off, we're gonna be going all in for the general for him. If he comes up short, then we're gonna keep developing Oliver to have him run again. I don't want him to just be a media guy. For the love of God, Oliver. Did you see Bass's attempt to be like Zoran? Yes, I did.
What it's like to live in New York?
I'm Donnie. I'm here in Prospect Park because a follower said there were drinking fountains there that were taken away by the city. Please bring the drinking fountains back.
I'm on it. The heat wave has arrived, but our parks plumbers got here first. They're getting the water flowing so that New Yorkers can safely enjoy their summer days in Prospect Park.
Take a sip if you so desire, sir.
Absolutely. Delicious. Stay cool and stay safe, New York.
Versus what it's like to live in LA.
I found this pothole here on Melrose and Gardner Street. Hoping you could just send some folks down here to just remedy that for us.
Hi, Simone. I saw your post, so I want you to know that city crews were out here today at noon. But unfortunately, there was a car that was here, so we couldn't repair the pothole.
That was her car. She parked the car. She parked the car there and blocked it.
So you know what we did? We put up these no parking signs so that hopefully there won't be anybody parked here tomorrow morning, and the city crews will be back. In the future, if you have any problems like this, you can call 311 if it's graffiti, if it's a pothole, or if it's just random trash. So thank you, Simone. Thank you for being a great LA citizen. We're going to get this done.
She might have got lunch. You're like, well, we can't fix this. Off to get lunch.
I'm so road. She stopped and got a milkshake for a job well done for the municipal city of LA. I wonder if that pothole's still there. Newton, are you ready to ride? We gotta go see if this pothole's still there.
I think they fixed it. I've been looking into this story. I think they fixed it after everyone made fun of that post. But let me just stop this for a second, because I feel like you guys aren't getting how incompetent this is. All right, I'm gonna roll it back, because there's like 5 different layers of incompetence that I really need to explain. Okay, there's 5 different layers of incompetence that I need you to explain. First, okay, the first incompetence is the pothole wasn't just fixed by itself. All right, that the city doesn't have the infrastructural awareness to know where all the potholes are and fix them on their own initiative without having to have anybody complain. That's incompetence level 1. Kind of understandable. It's hard to have the pothole wasn't very deep. Maybe nobody reported it. I'm willing to forgive incompetence level 1. Like, okay, so now we're on incompetence level 2. Incompetence level 2 is now somebody posted about the pothole. All right. Now they've reported it. A citizen has seen the pothole and posted about it. Okay. That's incompetence level 2. They still didn't fix it. They didn't just fix it from the 311 from the post. Okay, that's incompetence level 2. Starting to get a little bit annoying, all right? Starting to get a little bit annoying, but we understand things don't happen automatically. They don't happen right away, okay? Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to completely freak out over that. Now we're starting to get into the bad level of incompetence. Now we're getting into where she's actually stupid, okay? So get ready. Incompetence level 3 is the mayor sees how popular Zohra Mamdani is getting by doing these pothole fixes, and she decides, all right, I'm going to jump on this trend, and I'm going to go do the same thing. I'm going to go out there with the crews, fix the pothole, and then I'm going to post about it so that people can see that I'm like Mamdani. I'm out there getting work done. Now, that's a good idea, actually. That in and of itself is a good idea, except incompetence level 4, she goes out there with the crews. Again, this is the mayor of the city, okay? The person who can fire everybody. They go out with the mayor of the city. They don't scout out the situation. They pull the mayor and her whole communication crew out to this pothole without making sure they can actually fix it. Then they get out there and they realize, oh, there's a car in the way. We can't fix it. All right. Now we're in incompetence level 5. Call a fucking tow. Move the car. Or wait for the person to come and move their car. Send the crew to go, say, okay, they're not here right. Somebody parked their car right now. We're going to have an intern sit here, have a milkshake and then call us, when this pothole is open, and we'll have the crew come out and fix it. Okay. At, a different part of their shift. No. They decide not to do that. They decide, okay, well, we can't fix this pothole. There's no one else who's made the same exact post in all of Los Angeles, California. Nobody else has made hey, there's a pothole here, Karen Bass. Can you come fix it? Go find the next video of somebody doing the same thing and go to a different pothole and fix that. That's incompetence level 6, okay? Incompetence level 6 is, all right, well, we can't use this video because there's a car in the way. Is there another video talking about a pothole? We'll just drive to that pothole and we'll do the same thing. Okay, that's incompetence level 6. They didn't do that. So now we're in incompetence level 7. All right, think about how many layers of incompetence we've gotten to. Incompetence level 7 is, I'm going to just throw up a sign, record that I did this, say I can't fix it, and then incompetence level 8, go get lunch and then post the part about me getting lunch as part of the video. I mean, that is fucking insane. Like the level of stupid, you can look at this and go, haha, they didn't fix the pothole. That's terrible. No, there were like 9 levels of stupidity. I am worried. I am actually scared. As somebody who lives in LA, I am actually scared. I am frightened right now. Why am I frightened? I'm frightened because to be this level of incompetent is like powerful. We're going to die. Our water's going to be poisoned or some shit, and she's going to be too lazy to do anything about it, and I'm going to die. And then, oh, of course, the level 10, level 9, level 10 incompetence, I'm giving them 2 levels, is going through all that, making the TikTok, and then going not reviewing the TikTok and going, last minute sanity check. Does anybody think this is a good idea? And everybody's like, yeah, that's a good post. And then they hit post. You could have done all the shit, but to the point where you actually post it like, job well done. That's crazy. Happy she didn't hit level 11 incompetence. Level 11 incompetence is a sinkhole opens up and swallows the entire city of Los Angeles. So, you know, sum it up. 1, it is leadership incompetence. 2, it's like management incompetence. 3, it's communications incompetence. 4, it is like interpersonal incompetence. And 5 is just lack of awareness. Like the level of she's just incompetent in every single way. And I don't know how to, like, and I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? This frightened me because of how much it shows she's out of touch. And she's so insular, and her inner circle has got to be full of the dumbest, most incompetent losers of all time. We're so lucky Spencer Pratt didn't win the primary because he would have won because she is that bad. And don't forget the innocent person whose car will now be towed. Like, you don't even have to tow the car. You could just move the car temporarily, fix the pothole, you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? There's probably a restaurant she likes nearby and decided to make a video out of it. This is what frightens me. This is what frightens me.
So we
Rectling between is treated like something you're simply supposed to. Decisions and on briefly interrupted by the city of LA. I wonder if that pothole's still there. Newton, are you ready to ride? We gotta go see if this pothole's still there. Newton, I seem to have lost my hairband. Let's ride.
A TikToker is leaving their home. This needs to be watched.
Put on the Teddy Roosevelt get up. He would have lifted that car out of the way, and he would have fixed that pothole right then and there with his bare hands. This is my first time vlogging. Sorry, it's not the greatest angle. And my ASMR vlog was briefly interrupted by FaceTime from my dad, who was touring the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. The crumbling infrastructure felt thematically relevant, so I left it in. Anyway, I tried to get some aesthetic footage while walking to and from the pothole, and it made me realize...
Yeah, we used to have things like state facilities, but we don't have those anymore.
How much of Los Angeles has become politically invisible, like both to the people making decisions and honestly to most of the people living here, because so much of this city is experienced through a windshield. And LA has plenty of magic, but so much of it exists at the destination, behind the gate, inside a restaurant, in someone's backyard, somewhere you had to drive to. The space in between is treated like something you're simply supposed to survive. Okay, I think I'm here. Is this the spot? Because it's definitely not fixed. Newton, what do you think? I mean, this is the spot. This is where Karen Bass was standing. Okay, no, I watched the reference video, so I guess they did fix it. What they fixed was this. Newton, no chicken bone. They fixed this part, but this part after it, this lumpy part that is still gonna, like, screw up somebody's front differentials or back differentials is the part that they didn't fix. All right, I'm back from my field reporting, and yes, I can confirm that the pothole was in fact fixed. But honestly, it was kind of hard to tell at first. Okay, the pavement directly in front of it was still really cracked and uneven. There's trash alongside the curb, bricks missing from the sidewalk, and white residue that was splattered all over the plants. I don't know, nothing about it like looked that good. And just to be clear, I'm not blaming the city workers, okay? They came back and they completed the job that they were sent to do, and honestly, they're already underpaid and working in one of the most expensive cities in the country. But why didn't you come back? Mayor Bass, the crew did. You should have too. Finish the video. I don't know, it seems like the moral of the story is that you showed up once, encountered one roadblock, literally, and then promised that the crew would return and told us in the future we should call 311. Like, what is that? I mean, isn't the point of making the video in the first place to show us that you care? So why not come back and thank the workers and buy them milkshakes from Marathon Burger and proudly show everyone the finished results? I think that right there is the difference between Mom Donnie's video and yours. He understands that you have to put yourself inside the outcome because that's when the standard changes. You know, it's no longer enough to just hear that the ticket was closed. You have to come back and you have to look at what was done and ask whether the result is something that is worth showing people. And you know, on second thought, maybe it is kind of poetic, because Mom Donnie drank the clean, fresh water that everyone would now be able to enjoy, and Bass left the outcome unresolved and got a milkshake for herself.
And that's why they hate us. That's legitimately why they hate us. That's why they hate us. They hate us. And this is something that I said before Mamdani won. It's not that they think what we're going to do is impossible. They know that it's not. It's not that they think Medicare for all would be bad. They know Medicare for all would be good. It's not that they don't know that pulling America out of the Middle East and reducing the spending on the military industrial complex would be bad for Americans. They know it would be good. They know it would be good. If we pass the Green New Deal, they know it would be good. Every element would change the way Americans see the world, which is what they're against. They want you frightened. They want you hateful. They want you selfish because that's how they can profit. And that's why, even as Mamdani, he's still skating uphill. He's still dealing with the Democratic Party shitting on him, looking for any excuse they could to fuck him over. Look at the way he's covered on CNN.
Here is a clip from CNN where you have New York Post columnist Lydia Moynihan. She's the financial correspondent for the New York Post. So she's super excited.
Just the funniest credit anybody has. I was saying, yeah, I'm the Supreme Court correspondent for Sports Illustrated.
But columnist for New York Post and financial correspondent put together. Take a guess how she's reacting to Zohran Mamdani's mayoralty.
69% approval rating.
Right now at Mayor Mamdani, who is the most famous Democratic socialist, his approval rating is going up, which is unprecedented. I mean, if you look here, 45% in June, now 47%. New York City, 58%, now 69% in New York City. He is trying to show that democratic socialism is actually something that can work. How do you explain that?
Look, it's a good question. I think he was a very skilled marketer, which is why he got into the mayoral office in the first place, and he's continuing to do that. He's very good at the photo ops. But if you look at the
wow, we've got a New York Poster responding. Wow, can you imagine if CNN invited me on? I mean, I get 1,000 times, quadrillion times the whatever the views of her shit is. I have, I don't know, 20 million hours watched, million hours, 20 million. Hassan has like 500 million. And yet we have to see these non-stop chill fucking scum. It's all the media puts up there. And she has no point. Guys, he's good at marketing. Wow, thanks for the analysis.
Those are telling a completely different story. Rents are at a new all-time high.
Rents are high because people are moving to New York. Because it's even, the vibes are so fucking good. People want to move in, but thankfully he froze the rent for people that have been there for decades, who've lived in rent stabilized apartments, the backbone of the New York native. They're safe in Mamdani's hands. As far as the other rents, like the rest of the fucking country, well, that's not true. A lot of people are leaving Texas. So Texas is seeing a collapse in rent, but people want to move to New York, and we're not able to fix shit because we have Donald Trump, the stinker, as president.
So I think eventually the data and the reality of the policies he's...
Okay. So I just, this is all they have now is charisma and social media. That's all they have. We made this point yesterday talking about his approval rating, which, by the way, since June and going up like that, the media did this dunk fest on him because his legal team determined that they couldn't feasibly make it stand to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu in New York City. And the media was like, he stumbled. This was something he said he was going to do. And unlike pretty much everything else he did, he failed. And isn't that embarrassing? And there was a rush to say how horrible his leadership is. Turns out voters maybe saw that, including the cost of living stuff, and said, I like someone who might actually try to arrest this man who's actively committing a genocide and believes in humanity and the rule of law. His approval rating went up after that, and you would never know that given the media coverage of it. And all they can do is talk about his charisma. Obama was somebody who is and remains one of the most charismatic politicians of our lifetime. When did his approval rating dip below 50% and stay there for the rest of his presidency? Almost the entire time. Charisma doesn't matter if you're not delivering on your promises.
Yeah, and we should say, too, there was, in the implementation of the pied-à-terre tax, a couple of people end up on the wrong list. They obviously were able to fix it. There is a sense amongst, like, the commentariat that people, average New Yorkers, feel like just they're outraged at the pied de terre attacks. And I got news for you. They're not. They either love it or don't care. Because it doesn't impact virtually anyone in the city. Like the idea you're talking about, like several thousand people get on this list for the pied de terre tax. There are millions of people in this city who do not have an apartment that's just here for a couple of weekends, or are flying to Florida to make sure that they have 165 tax days in Florida so they can avoid taxes, or whatever it is, 185. There is such a desperation amongst these people to go after Mamdani, and they cannot figure out how. The guy has not only provided material benefits for people, you got now over 25,000, I think, kids right now getting free child care. He is going to expand it. We see the work on the buses. The buses are getting faster in some areas, and we see the pilot program for the grocery stores. And more than that, he is going out there, and he is a great communicator. But you look at the notion of what he's...
It's not just communicating. Like, this is something that needs to be corrected. He's a good manager. And this is what the left has lacked for a long time. A good manager, good leader. They're actually increasing the number, like the way, for example, it all started with the blizzard. Right after he got into office, they had a huge blizzard in New York. And he took a pre-existing program, which is the hire people to shovel snow. And he marketed it, and he raised the wage to $30 an hour, and he got everybody out there shoveling snow, and it was solved, right? And he came in there, and it's the same thing with potholes. He went into the streets department, and he put in good leadership, and he said, guys, I need you to work extra hard for me. And he said, I see you, I hear you, I believe in you guys. We're gonna do better than we've ever done. And he managed them up, and I think they've filled 48% more potholes this year than they did last year. Not spending a bunch of extra money, not hiring a bunch of extra guys, not increasing the line item on the budget, but going down there and putting a skilled management team in who can make sure that we maximize the resources that are already being deployed. Like, that's what's actually happening. And so it's not just that he's there, because there is a management gap, right? You could see it with Karen Bass. That's what I showed you the TikTok for. Karen Bass is a bad manager. She's a bad, lazy piece of shit manager. Whereas Mamdani is an active manager. And it's active in both accountability, but also in morale building. By making, like when he went out to the parks with the plumbers and they set up the water fountain. And he was like, God damn, this is cool. That gave those guys pride in their work. It motivated them again. That doesn't cost anything. Respect doesn't cost anything. And so those guys are going to feel proud of themselves, and they're going to go out there, they're going to hustle a little bit harder, and they're going to get a little bit more done because of the culture of appreciation of the working man that Mamdani is putting in. Again, this is hard to explain. It's not something that you can just do, but Mamdani is that's part of what makes sewer socialism work, is that the people at the top respect the people that make the city run, and they work just a little bit harder. And you can measure it, you can see it. And like, that is what they're not getting. Is it's not just that he is got good policies, which of course he does, right? It's that he's a good manager. And you know, there's an old saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play. I don't like to do backbreaking hard work. I don't know about you. I worked on road construction and maintenance and repair. I know what it's like. It's not fun. I gotta tell you, fixing a pothole in the summer, in August, is not fun. It's hard. It fucking sucks. Okay? So, but when you know that the guys above you are gonna be there and they're gonna make sure that you get what you need, and they're going to, you know, they're going to make sure that you're accountable for yourself, and they give you pride in what you've done, you're gonna get it done a little bit faster, right? You just will. So like, all I'm trying to say is this is not just like socialism works. It's also skill. It's also charisma. It's also leadership ability. It's also not being a lazy sack of shit sitting in Gracie Mansion all day jerking off. which is what he could do. He could just be sitting at his desk all day picking his nose. There is no rule. He's the mayor. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He has to make a few decisions every year. But other than that, he can sit on his fucking ass and do nothing. But he's actually making work for himself. He's filling his day by being what? A good manager and a good leader, and going down to the very bottom of what makes the city run and showing up and sharing some of the celebrity and sharing some of the credit and sharing some of his the majesty of the office, or whatever you want to call it, with regular workers in the city, and giving them pride and giving them the spotlight and giving them the limelight and showing appreciation for them. And again, that leadership increases productivity for no cost. This is just the essence of what makes a leader a leader. It's not sitting in front with a bunch of stars on your shoulder and wreaths around your forehead and, you know, getting wine poured in your gullet. It's about representing the working people and having the responsibility of making sure the city's tasks are done. Again, that's why they hate him, because he makes every other politician look like the lazy sack of shit, piece of shit they are.
He's communicating that we're all citizens of this city, and we're all invested in how government works. And this is an anathema to them because they don't like government. And so anybody who's building confidence in the institution of government, in the idea of government, is a threat to them. Keep playing this.
Completely different story. Rents are at a new all-time high. So I think eventually the data and the reality of the policies he's implementing are going to catch up with him.
I do think, though, that there are New Yorkers who are happy with him, not because he's a member of the Democratic Socialist Party. They're happy with him because he was talking about affordability and addressing their top priorities. They're happy with him because he's following through on campaign promises. You look at filling potholes or fixing drinking fountains. These are things that New Yorkers care about.
He fixed one drinking fountain, and it's because somebody tagged him on Instagram to do that. A functioning government doesn't need somebody to be tagged on Instagram to fix something.
I talked to a lot of young Democrats and young progressives, and they all say the exact same thing. They say that they're dissatisfied with the leadership of the Democratic Party because the grievances that underpinned those tweets and statements in 2020 have not been addressed by Democratic leaders 6 years later. And those grievances were real, and people forget that we had on the left the biggest protest movement of the century in 2020, and it was based on real grievances, and none of those have been addressed. So people who speak to those grievances will win inside the Democratic Party, and people who show results of those grievances.
It's also generational, and we're seeing
it is generational.
We're seeing a lot of that as well, but we're seeing it across party.
All right, everybody.
And that's going to matter in 2028, and Democrats ignore it to their peril.
All right, everybody stand by.
That's
chat. Wait a minute. Twitch is dropping bonus gift subs on channels streaming in dual format starting August 20th. Okay, chat, we're gonna have to stream in dual format starting August 20th for free money. What's dual format? It's when you set up like a vertical version of your stream as well as like the normal monitor version. So you have two formats. You have like the monitor version, and you'll have a vertical version. It's like crazy that millennials yelled at each other to film horizontally, and then Gen Z got the phone and they just kept the phone vertical. And so everyone's been broken into vertical formats. Isn't that crazy?
The safety valve. You know how like on the Titanic, right, there were different layers on the ship that had protective measures once they hit the iceberg, and then those failed. The generational thing is the next one that they're going to. That's in part true. Like in part, yes, Zoran Mamdani's talent as a communicator is in part of why he's so popular, and age is part of the issue, but it's not the whole issue. It's ideology, and not everything, you soulless ghouls, is a comms issue. I mean, there were two people there that addressed it actually well. I don't know their names, but like, they're saying that these are legitimate grievances and not just a matter of marketing, which is seemingly the only way that these people can conceive of politics.
And I also say, like, the generational thing is that you have people under the age of 40, really, or maybe 45 even, who are no longer knee-jerk frightened off by the label socialist. In fact, it's the opposite. I mean, there may be people who knee-jerk react to actually support as opposed to get frightened off. And so it's, and there's no longer, like, this cohort, I think even more broadly, are upset at the Democrats for not doing enough, whether older or younger. But the bottom line is, if it's generational, it's very easy to see where the trend is going.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that clip is from...
The other thing is, like, millennials are not becoming more right-wing. Like, I think everybody needs to understand this, is that millennials, for the most part, are pretty much staying left-wing. In fact, millennials were the most left-wing generation there in 2024, but it looks like Generation Z, after, or, the Zoomers, after flirting with the right a little bit, have actually swung back further to the left. So it seems like millennials are kind of hardened in as the left-wing generation, whereas Gen Z is a little bit more volatile. Gen X is the most conservative generation, and boomers after that. So it really does seem like the idea of as you get older, you move is not true. It doesn't seem like it's holding true for millennials and Gen Z. Establishment will do anything but be effective. Talrico has decided to skip the middleman and pull a Harris rat fuck. Oh, no, I know. Why do you think I didn't talk about Talrico at all? Because I can. Why do you think I hate John Ossoff? Why do you think I hated Andy Bashir? Why do you think I hated Gretchen Whitmer? Because I'm not stupid, and because I'm ideological, and I know what I'm talking about on policy. So when I see a candidate, I go and check their policy, and if their policy is not left wing, then they're gonna hate us. They're gonna be against us. It's not that complicated. It's actually surprisingly easy to figure out who's our enemy. There's a few policies that you could check, and if they don't have them, they're our enemy. They are Medicare for all, that's number one, and two, their position on Gaza. It's very rare for anybody to have good position on Medicare for all and Gaza and be our enemy. Okay. It's a cheat sheet. There you go. Now you know. If somebody is not good on both of those things, they suck and they hate us. If anything, we're seeing a handful of boomers start to realize trickle down third way bullshit doesn't work. I mean, they don't care. The boomer generation is, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a reason why the population is declining worldwide. And it has to do with the culture of boomers is different than the culture everywhere of other generations. Like traditionally, older generations kind of dedicated themselves to facilitating the growth and the success of their kids, their grandchildren, and their children. Whereas we're not seeing that kind of culture with boomers. Boomers are very much the me generation, and they've carried that on into their silver years. Right? They're not interested in facilitating the next generation in ways that previous 2,000 generations of humanity did. And you can see the results. Population is not declining worldwide. There's only one place the population is not declining. It's fucking Africa, bro. Primarily being driven by Nigeria. Like there's a few places where the population isn't declining, but for the most part, it's fried. Which, by the way, Nigeria is probably the most underappreciated global power that's rising. All knowers know about Nigeria. Nigeria sucks. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's a rising power. It's just underappreciated. The most boomer phone call I've ever heard. Don't even start with me.
So I am looking for some guidance from Dave and Dr. Delaney about my will. I have two daughters, one of whom is doing very well financially. She and her husband are in the 1%. And the other daughter earns about $50,000. And for several years I felt
here, I'll tell you what you do. 50-50. And you're done. Unless the 50,000 one has spent a lot of time as you're like caring for you and like put their own career aside, like it's not that complicated. You know, in that case, they should get more, because they've spent more time caring for you and caring for the family and doing the service work and the care work that the other daughter wasn't involved in. It's, or, very simple. Or if one side borrowed a lot of money from you You know, like it's not that complicated.
Comfortable about how to like divide up the assets. I'm an everyday millionaire. But more recently, I've gotten to the point where I don't want to give either of them any money.
Why?
I feel like I've worked so hard my whole life. I paid for college for them. I've paid over $500,000 for college for them. And
what the fuck are you? This sounds like delusion to me.
They've turned into socialists, and they just, but they have, and
well, you sent them the wrong college.
Yeah.
Monique,
yes.
You're my favorite call. Maybe in 2 months.
I know we're all laughing.
No,
but
we're with you. We're with
frankly,
you.
I'm depressed. I'm very depressed about where I see my children heading, and I think I don't want my money to go to them, and I feel terrible about that.
Here's what I would say, and I say this with all due respect. Like, you're fucking mentally ill. You're an evil, reprehensible person. And your daughter, you should tell your daughters immediately so they can cut you off. And so you can die alone. This is like, actually, like, I have to say, like, thank you, boomers. Because the thing that socialists, like the problem that socialists have always had historically is we've argued that the circle of empathy should grow to cover all of humanity. That is our kind of like wild pie in the sky idea, that all humanity is one family and that all lives are have value. Everybody should be cared for. Everybody should live a dignified life. Everybody matters, right? That's our pie in the sky fucking belief, okay? That's the one that people have the hardest time kind of like reckoning with, because it seems unfathomable that you would care so much about everybody. It almost seems impossible, right? Like, that's our pie in the sky value. And the counter argument is people have a bias toward their own family. Like, this is my flesh and my blood, and it came from me, and I cared for them, and I loved them. And there's these hormones, and there's these emotions that are primal and innate. And we just love our kids, and our brains have been altered through the process of having a child, and we bond to them. And so we're biased to them, and we care, we want more for them, and we protect them. And that's the genetic heritage of being a biological organism. And you're socialists, you're pie in the sky, right? We love our flesh and our blood, you know? That's the conservative counter argument, okay? I'm steel manning. I want to thank boomers for proving the socialists right. This is proof that all that stuff about flesh and blood and bonding and blah, 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 it was all bullshit, because these people, she wants to cut them out of the, like, she doesn't care for her family anymore because they disagree with her politically. Well, if it's that easy to turn it off, then you should have a 100% inheritance tax universally. Why should anybody get inherited money? That makes no sense. And also, like, the idea that they're socialists, like, first of all, I doubt it. And second of all, what, American socialists? Barely, like, you know, it's not something that I spend a lot of time talking about because I think it's counterproductive and stupid. But DSA is full of people that are not even, like, we're talking about market socialism and reform and shit. We're not talking about seizing the means of production and doing the American, you know, land reform movement. This is like, maybe we should have a couple government enterprises, and maybe we should do some more regulations and taxes, and maybe we should have anti-competitive processes built in. Like, you know, we should make sure there's no anti-competitive monopolistic competition and blah, blah, blah. Like, very much what I would call center-left under a normal political compass. You know, if you're looking at the political compass chart, it's like maybe a half or a third down the left side of the economic axis. It's not even far left. It's not even far left. Social Democrats bordering on reformist socialists. It's not even far left. There's not really a formation in America that is Marxist, Leninist, revolutionary, seize the means, a la the Soviet Bolsheviks and Mao Zedong. It doesn't exist.
You shouldn't. They're not entitled. They didn't hit the DNA lottery. They're not entitled. My children have been instructed since they were small that in order to get the opportunity to manage the money that God gave me to manage, meaning that I hand off the responsibility to manage some of the Ramsey fortune to them, they will have to be people of character. Socialists are not people of character.
Okay.
They're parasites. And so if my children are going to be parasites, I'm not going to finance their lives so that they have a reality show.
Is there a way to put money in, let's say, a trust where they couldn't get access to it till they were, let's say, 70 years old?
Well, I mean, then they'd just be a 70-year-old
they...
socialist, right?
Yeah, well, but I'm hoping by then they will have kind of woken up.
You can. All of our estate is trust-based, and our trust is, we've done it from a faith perspective, not an economics perspective. But if they're not walking with God, they don't get to manage.
Well, one of the things that I would say is just, do you notice how conclusory their shit is? Like, these people don't ever bother making a point. You know, like, this is what I learned in law school that was very, very fucking normal, which is whenever somebody is giving you a conclusion and not an argument, they think they have power over you. They think they're better than you, and they think they're dumb. They think you're dumb. To an equal, you give an argument. To a subordinate, you give an order. This is something that law school taught me, one of my law professors, and it like went, whoa, boom. It was like oh my God, you're right. And it was their way of saying, because if you put conclusions into your legal writing, that's wrong. Conclusions are earned. They're at the end, okay? They're not at the beginning. And if somebody's just having a conversation with you about their conclusions, they think they're better than you. I don't like, and so that's what I always look for. Whenever I'm watching somebody talking about politics or whatever, if all they're doing is telling me their conclusions, I have no interest in what they're saying. Tell me your arguments. Tell me your reasoning. Tell me what the fuck you're talking about. Instead of like, socialists are not people of character. Martin Luther King Jr. is not a person of character. What do you mean they're not a person of... What does that fucking have to do with anything? Einstein is not a person of character? Like, what are you saying?
God's money. It's what the trust says.
Really?
Yep. In no uncertain terms. And so, you know, in your case, you could change that lingo and just go, you know, when you become a capitalist, you get the opportunity to manage this money.
Monique, here's what I would do. I would take some time to distill down beyond the monikers and the labels.
Report on Atlas Shrugged.
What...
By the way, this is Pete Buttigieg, by the way. If you're like, there's a type of millennial whose entire life has been licking the boots of boomers. That's Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg is a boomer-oriented millennial, right? There's the millennials who are like, we should have our position in society commensurate with our age and our experience. And then there are millennials who lick and cozy up to and suck off the boomer generation. That's what this guy is. That's why old people like Pete Buttigieg. Old white people like Pete Buttigieg because he's that kind of, they can tell he's a teacher's pet. He's a boomer-oriented millennial. He's there to serve them and continue their delusions of being the center of the universe.
That's fantastic. Man, I am not usually at a loss for words, and you got me on that.
And by the way, the millennial guy is going like, you know, moving beyond the labels, could you know, which Dave Ramsey, again, lazy entitled, everything the Ramsey show, the thing about the Ramsey show is, if you don't know who this guy is, Dave Ramsey is a kind of financial entertainer where he tells people like how to manage their money so they could, you know, achieve their goals. And the problem is he got famous during boomer times when you could buy a house relatively quickly. You just saved for a couple of years and you had enough for a down payment. Now people have to save for 20 years. Like millennials will have to live a parsimonious life for 20 years to be able to afford a home in a lot of the cities that he's talking about, right? It doesn't compute. It used to be that you could do that. It used to be that a person making a median wage could afford a median house. That's not true anymore. So all the Dave Ramsey advice, it doesn't apply anymore. But it used to apply to boomers. So his audience are largely boomers who followed this very basic advice because the structural conditions were different then. Wages were higher. Home prices were lower. Okay? So what the math used to math, but now the math doesn't math because college used to be free. Now it's very expensive. So instead of graduating college with no debt and then immediately working a job where you got a high median wage, where you could afford a median home within a few years, and so by 27, 28, you could be married and in a home you own as a regular person if you practiced a little bit of self-control, if you practice good habits. That was true for boomers. It's not true for millennials. It is not true for millennials. It is almost like if you have to be in the top 5% of income to be able to afford a house in Los Angeles, the median house. You have to be in the top 5% of income in Los Angeles to afford a house in Los Angeles. And most people who own a house, most transfers of houses in Los Angeles, I think 10 times more houses are people leaving their house to a child than they are a first-time home buyer buying it in Los Angeles County right now. It's a landed gentry. I don't think people like, and again, boomers don't get this because they bought their house for $70K or $100K or whatever. I have an aunt who bought her house for $70K in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And I think that her house is worth like $2 million now. It's not that impressive of a house.
Monique, here's what I want you to do. I want you to distill down beneath the quote-unquote word socialist. Okay, what are the things that they are saying that concerns you, that you think that you are leaning into? And I want you to have a direct, straight conversation about what these things are. And then I want you to identify them. And like Dave said, it's your money. You can do what you want to with it. I've seen...
By the way, listen, my reaction to this is like the idea that it's your money, you could do what you want with it, is an evil idea. It's a psychotic idea, and it's an unchristian idea. Okay, I want you to understand, like, it is an evil idea. You brought these people into the world. When you have a child, that is an expression of your own ego. They didn't sign up for this shit. You brought them into this vale of tears. You have a lifelong responsibility to help build their happiness. That is basic morality. If you're going to be the egomaniac piece of shit enough to have kids, which I love, which there's nothing wrong with having kids. Having great kids is great. But what I'm trying to get is you need to put your mind right that if you have kids, you owe them until they're dead and you can never pay that debt. That's your job. Okay? Boomers used to know that when they were young. They forgot, I guess. They used to yell at their parents this stuff, but I guess they forgot. This is morally degenerate. And in America, there is no real, as I said, socialist movement. So what the fuck are they talking about? What are they objecting to? Exactly. And my general feeling is like anybody who tells a parent you have the right to do whatever you want with your money, unless that child has abused you, unless that child has harmed the community and you in a predatory way, that's outrageous. Yes, legally you could throw a kid out at 18. That's morally depraved. And everybody in the community should hate your guts. If the way you approach your children is only what I'm legally obligated to do is what they're entitled to, that's fucking evil. Especially if you have the resources, because a lot of families don't. Evil take. These guys are this is why they're not going to heaven. Let's just say David Ramsey's fat head is not passing through the eye of the needle. You're not going to the kingdom of heaven.
More and more over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of semantic shell games. And once you sit down and talk to somebody, it's like, oh, we're way on the same page. I just thought this about that, right?
Yeah. I think
By the
you
way,
can
notice
say
that the millennial is morally upright. Even though he's a Dave Ramsey bootlicker, he's like, what the fuck do you even mean by socialist? Can you actually, can you tell me what your arguments are? Like, I actually have a lot of respect for this guy, actually, after that. Because he's like, we're playing semantic shell games, and when we sit down, you notice how he's fighting against the boomer self-regard, masturbatory, conclusionary bullshit, the anti-social behavior of Dave Ramsey? And he's telling her to, sit down with her family and actually break out what the fuck she's even talking about. He's at least curious about and cares. This is fucking crazy, dude. Dave Ramsey, you are scum.
That you are not required morally, ethically, legally, spiritually to leave your money to people that you do not agree with how they live their lives.
Period. Full stop.
In there, right? So now, once you've said that, then you can start to have some discussions with them that are very gentle and very life-giving and very
direct.
Kind and very kind and very
yeah.
kind and very clear. And it's like, okay, I've paid for all this stuff for you. And truthfully, I don't agree with the way you're living your life, and I'm not willing to finance that going forward.
Right.
And so it's up to you if you want to do that. I'm not being...
And by the way, and there's another side to this. There's another side to this, which is you're going to die, right? And boomers, I want you to listen to me. You're going to die one day, and it's coming up soon, all right? And the life that you lead from now until then, and whether or not your kids are going to remember you, whether they're going to find, you know, they're going to put you in a pine fucking box, okay? Nobody will go to your funeral. Who's going to make the calls to make sure that people show up? Who's going to put the headstone? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to end up in the municipal county grave without even a marker because no one will care that you died because you had this demonic view towards the world where you clutched gold and silver, which the moths are going to eat. If you ever read your Bible, you fucking demonic fucks. You evil I mean, goddamn, dude. Like, it's crazy to me because I'm a Roman Catholic, right? I was raised Roman Catholic, and I was always kind of precocious, and I would like look over the Bible and the Gospels and read it. Why? I don't know. I'm fucking weird, okay? And so whenever I see a Christian talking, I notice something. They never cite a word Jesus says. You know, for claiming to be a Christian, have you ever actually cited anything Jesus Christ has ever said? You shameless scum. Boomers are so demonic that they get communist defending inheritance. It's not even about that. It's you got Nick. You should go and rewind what I said, which was I think pretty banger. Which is, for the longest time, just to summarize it, socialists have said that the gamut of empathy should cover all of humanity. That all humanity is one family. And that every life has value and everybody deserves to have their full potential realized and everybody deserves a life of dignity. And the counter argument was that, no, we're biologically biased towards our children and it's ingrown and the hormones and our brains are altered through the practice of having a child and people will always be biased in favor of their children. And then I listen to this shit and I'm like, yeah, that was bullshit.
Trolling.
Mike, how can you rewind? Well, if you're subscribed to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, you have the ability to do Twitch rewind and you can go further back into the stream and watch.
I just want to let you know that I'm going to go ahead and do a reading of the will, and you're not going to be in it as long as you're living this way.
I mean, honest to God, this is probably one of the most offensive things I've ever seen in my entire life.
So I am looking for some guy.
Legitimately one of those things. And like the biggest curse that we have as a generation, like, I'm not even going to say it. But I'm going to think it. And you're all going to receive it, right? You're all going to receive what I'm saying. Everybody think a treasure train. Ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes as boomers get older, they require help. Make sure that you don't have the assets to help them afford their nursing homes by subscribing today. No, I'm kidding. We love our boomers. We love our boomers. We love them so much. Okay, I'm switching to the earbud. They should be charged, right, chat? They should be charged enough. Okay. David Bentley's 3 Cheers for Socialism will be a great read for sure. I highly recommend. Wish I could send the link. You should be able to send the link. It's product. I think part of this is, like, I'm going to be completely honest with you, chat, is that in America, there's 2 types of white culture. There's Southern white culture and there's Northern white culture. And I'm a Northerner, okay? And I think I think Southern white culture is colonizing the rest of the country. Because, like, I'm constantly flabbergasted by the shit that I hear white people saying from the South. It feels like the neo-Confederate white culture, the SEC white culture is like colonizing the North. We're starting to like rise up through the Midwest. And the Southern fundamentalists, they don't represent me. There's no fucking evangelical Christians in Philadelphia, okay? There's no evangelical Christians in New York City or Boston, okay? We don't fuck with you, motherfuckers. We don't fuck with your weird racist shit. We have our own versions of racism. It's different. It's like when the German makes fun of the Polak. It doesn't mean it's okay, But it's not your weird racist. The Southern racism is fucking creepy. Okay? It's way more evil. The shades of Yakub are different. And Dave, and the Southern white culture is fucking horrible. What type of white culture is California? I would say white culture in California is more similar to Northeast, but with the sprinkle of woo-woo hippie bullshit. I think the West is closer to the Northeast than it is to the South. Although there is a lot of Southern influence here as well. But I would say the West is more similar to the East than it is to the South. Sorry, but counter argument just to make you mad. As a socialist, do I have to give my inheritance to my neo-Nazi? If you have neo-Nazi children, you fucked up. You fucked up. Yagopnik Twitch, thank you for the 10. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a treasure train running. We have a treasure train running, and obviously today we have Oliver Larkin for Congress. He's running. He's running today, ladies and gentlemen. Today is his election. Now, Oliver was a little bit fucked by the gerrymandering that took place where the Republicans redrew the districts in the middle of the election. So now there's only 4 Democrat-leading districts in all of Florida. Oliver Larkin's district is R+5 to R+10, depending on the year. So if we have a big blue wave year, this is a winnable district. However, he's also running against one of the most disgusting right-wing Zionist Democrats who's called himself a Ron DeSantis Democrat. So defeating Jared Moskowitz would be a huge W. He's honestly Zionism's golden boy. Today is the day. Happy Florida Election Day.
Oliver Larkin is challenging incumbent Jared Moskowitz. If Oliver Larkin had his way, there would be Medicare for all, no more electoral college, automatic same-day voter registration, an immediate shift away from fossil fuels, public ownership. In other words, just like every other DSA candidate, he would be...
Are we ready to show the rest of the country what Florida is made of? Solidarity to each and every one of you. Let's go win this race. NBA, block them out of the phone.
Oliver Larkin is challenging incumbent...
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a treasure train. What the fuck is a treasure train? Well, a treasure train is a hype train where all the subs that are gifted, 5 or greater gift subs, are discounted 35%, which means one of 2 things. One, you could gift 5 subs a hell of a lot cheaper, or you could take those savings and gift more subs. So instead of gifting, say, 5 subs, you could gift 7 subs for the same price. And when people are subscribed to the channel, they get access to the VODs. They get access to Twitch Rewind. They get access to the emotes. If the revolution does not have dancing, then it's not my revolution. Emma Goldman. True based. Honest, I feel like Moskowitz is one of those Democrats where it doesn't matter if he or the Republicans win. True. True. Well, it could be like Texas where there's 2 Republicans running, right? Like there's 2 Republicans running. Yagopnik says, I want a level 20 so I can hold it over Mike's head forever. 1,000 bits Haas Slam. This is the thing about other content creators, is they're so eager to hold things over my head. They're so eager to blame me and hold things over my head and come after me. And it's like, okay, it's all right. My chat's not going to cooperate with that. They're going to say, Mike, we're going to do level 19, 99.9%. So you can own him. They're on my side. I believe in them. Can we carry the flame? No. No. Like in Texas, you have moderate Republican James Talrico versus, you know, far-right Republican, what's his fucking name? Ken Paxton. Okay? So no matter what you vote for in Florida, you're getting a Republican. Or sorry, in Texas, not Florida. Whereas in Florida, with Oliver Larkin and Jared Moskowitz, you actually have a difference. You have moderate Republican Jared Moskowitz, who's an ultra-Zionist, running against actual Democrat Oliver Larkin. Jared Moskowitz looks like an... Oh my God. I'm stealing that immediately. Jared looks like the adoring fan from Skyrim. That's not the best picture. I need a slightly better adoring fan picture. Here you go. This one's better. Although I will say he's got a bigger forehead. How about this? Maybe just NPC. You know, maybe just he looks like an NPC and just steal the person's tweet completely. Oh, from Oblivion? Yeah, but Skyrim is more famous. How about this? I could just say Elder Scrolls. Yes. Elder Scrolls. Yes. Yes. Oh, he isn't in Skyrim? I'll be honest, chat. I played Oblivion, but I never really liked Skyrim. I was an Oblivion guy. I played through Oblivion, but I never played through Skyrim. Skyrim just never hooked me. I don't know what it was. Don't say Baldur's Gate for rage bait. Bro, people like Baldur's Gate. It's because you played Oblivion already and that shit gets old for a while. I mean, can I just say that the Elder Scroll games are overrated? Am I allowed? Am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say that? Is that too far? Although I do think Oblivion is pretty good, not gonna lie. And Morrowind. I think they're good. They're just, it's been republished so many times so it stays in people's like memory. Prove I'm a better friend than Mike. Let me hit level 20. I mean, you're clearly a better friend than me already. You don't need to live. Ham and Fist, thank you for the 20 bomb. I Cram, thank you for the 5. Paralyzed Pendant Plug, thank you for the 10. T-Step and Just Nuke It, thank you both for the gifties. And John Brown's Tannerite, thank you for the 5. Burley, thank you for the 10. The King of Wit, thank you for the 10. Caddy Doctor, thank you for the 20. Yogopnik, thank you for the 10. Socialism or Barbarism, thank you for the 10. Funk, thank you for the 5. Dumb, by default, thank you for the 5. BitGBW, thank you for the 5. Red Edge Planet, thank you for the 5. Cat Doctor, thank you for the tier 3. Green Base Guy, thank you for the 10. The King of Wit, thank you for the 5. John Brown's Tannerite, thank you for the 10 again. And there you have it. And Time Card, thank you for the resub and the raid. Little Spaghetti, thank you for the 5. Jules Nader, thank you for the 5. And Salsa Verde by the Glass, thank you for the 10. And Harmonious Cacophony, thank you for the 5. Level 20 is pretty crazy. Level 15, Treasure Train, let's fucking go. Chat, we are actually, believe it or not, this is so annoying. We actually went down in subs. Like, isn't this bullshit? Oh my God, 518, 5918. Isn't this annoying? Apparently last month we had a treasure train in the same time. I fell off. Okay, let's keep going. Jared Moskowitz.
If you do make it to Congress,
it's going to be
you're
defeated.
Have to work with this Trump administration. So can you name one significant accomplishment that President Trump has secured since returning to office for a second term?
I think it was signing the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law. I think that is something that we saw overwhelming bipartisan support for in the United States Congress. I wish that it had come about sooner, and I wish that we had the divulgence of these DOJ documents. But I do think that having accountability for the Epstein class is something that many Americans on either side of the political spectrum can agree with. And so I just want to see the follow through there. I've not necessarily seen that. The redactions of Donald Trump's name in these files, which is mentioned more than perhaps any other individual besides Jeffrey Epstein.
No, let's not go there.
I do
that's been debunked over and over and over again. Don't try to throw his name in there. That's been completely debunked every single time that's come up. But
it's already in there.
What do you mean it's debunked? His name is in there a million times. They had a whole department of scrubbing Trump references. Newsmax is so funny. It's so funny how they're very clearly, like, the propaganda that we have. I think the left in America really needs to do something about the corporate consolidation and break up all of these corporate propaganda networks, and they need to be split off of other larger media amalgamations.
I think that was great. That's definitely not one of the greatest things that President Trump has done in his second term. He's ended 8 wars. He's trying to end another one.
He's trying to end another one that he started. They did a sneak attack on Iran. They bombed a religious leader in his home when he was home with his grandkids in a sneak attack without declaring war, which when I was raised as an American, I was told that the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor was especially cowardly because it was a sneak attack where they attacked before declaring war. A date which will live in infamy, as FDR said. We did the same shit to Iran. We sunk a ship of Iranian sailors when it was unarmed because it had just come from a fleet lineup in India where they did this like Navy cooperation fleet lineup where navies from around the world send ships to kind of do this like friendly cooperation event in India. And we had an unarmed ship sunk, and then we refused to rescue the sailors who were defeated. So we sunk an unarmed ship, and then we broke the laws of the sea and refused to render aid to the sailors who were drowning in the ocean. This is not, I mean, this is the level of cowardliness the American administration under Trump has inculcated. Ladies and gentlemen, Common Bot 30 just dropped 5 bomb, and that has made us level. Holy shit. Is this like one of the top? This is level 15. This is one of the biggest hype trades we've had this year.
He's bringing peace to a lot of places, so that's lower on the totem list.
Not Iran.
But I see your point in your strategy and trying to put that out there. Oliver Larkin, thank you so much for joining the Pulse tonight. Appreciate you coming on.
I think one of the things that is like so embarrassing, one of the things that's so fucking embarrassing about the right today is they don't even have conspiracy theories anymore. This is why they're losing, by the way. The reason why the right is falling off is because they don't even have conspiracy theories anymore, right? Donald Trump, to his credit, he managed to milk them for 20 years on conspiracy theories, going back to Obama's birth certificate. He's been milking these dopey fucks. What? That's not. He's been milking these dopey fucks for 20 fucking years. Anyway, Tucker doesn't believe humans invented nukes. Tucker Carlson is legitimately one of the stupidest people that's ever lived on the planet. He's legitimately one of the dumbest pieces of shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, the right wing is objectively stupid. Did you see the polling showing Hong up 23 points was made up? They did it. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. Even the DSA left loves Larkin. All this shows, all this shows to me, and I mean this with all due respect, is that you guys are stans. You guys have stan culture brain. The liberal to ultra liberal pipeline is a straight line. You have stan culture brain, which is why you feel the way you do about AOC, because you feel like she didn't answer your letter. Like, that's literally what it is. Like, Oliver Larkin is exactly the same type of guy as Zoran Mamdani. Maybe he has slightly better politics. And I'm not saying that to diss Oliver Larkin. I'm saying that to compliment Zoran. They're the same guy. Like, come on. What are you doing? Super Cheetah, thank you for the 10 tier 1. Parks After Dark, thank you for the 5. It's just Sam now, thank you for the 5. The Anti-Corporatist, thank you for the 5. Oracle Bean, thank you for the 5. 37 Chambers, thank you for the 10. And Q Streams with the 50 bomb. Holy shit. Okay, we got some bended knees going. Jordy Rob, thank you for the 5. You know what this needs, chat? We're at level 18. And remember, Yagopnik can only take credit if it hits level 20. So if it doesn't hit level 20, Yagopnik gets no credit. Remember that. Quarks After Dark, thank you for the 10. Isn't that awesome? If it doesn't hit level 20, we could just be like, yep, he had nothing to do with it. I am a Democratic donor. My party has a moral obligation to renounce Hassan Piker by Jeffrey Epstein for the New York Times. I love David Sirota. I love people that are high functioning autistic like myself. Where you know, that's the people I love in my life. You know, that's why I'm a Hassan fan. I mean, you know, give me those high functioning autists, okay? Let me get those, you know. They're fucking great. Long pause, you know what I'm saying, chat. GON Zen, thank you for the 10 tier 1s. Comet Bot, thank you for more. Lando Lake Nut, holy fuck, how many was that? 25? Holy shit. Ladies and gentlemen, We have breached 6,000. We are now at 6,133. We're on our way to 6,420. Are you ready, you son of a bitch? I mean, in order for us to complete level 20, we have to complete all of level 20, right? So we're actually level 18 and 90%. We're not level 19. We're level 18 right now. Now we're level 19. We're not level 20 yet. Right now we're level 19. We're about to get level 20. We're not level 20 yet. Nah, you're wrong. No, I'm not. Do you think I don't know how fucking hype trades work? We are level 19 and 53%. That's what we are right now. If you guys don't give any more, it'll say level 19 hype train. I'm literally right. In fact, I will bet you 100 gifted subs that I'm right. What's my highest level? You could see if you go into the hype trade, it'll tell you. My historical highest level is level 33. Level 33 is my channel record. 64% through level 33. Level 33 is like I don't even want to say. Let's just say it's an unreasonable amount of money. When was that? I don't remember. Why did we? I'd have to go and look at my analytics. Chat, we are level 19 and 78%. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. Anonymous gifters, three-legged dog, artist with an AK, Crapaholic 1017. I need my get out of band jail free card. Very smart. Turkish Cat, Crisco 86, Posh Kenneth, the King of Wit. Thank you for the 15. The Purple Cherokee, Faye Shadowing. Thank you for the 10. Comet Bot, Gone Zen, Red. Oh no, I think it was my birthday. Oh, that makes sense. Rig, Dove, Nebular, and Karaoke Czar, an anonymous gifter, has made us reach. Oh, god damn it. Now Yagopnik gets to hold this over my head and be like, I was the best hype man. I was the best. I did it. Now he's going to try to take credit. But if we hit 21, if we hit level 21, then I can retake credit. All right. Since we hit level 20, we'll carry the flame. The thing is, like, we can't have fun like this anymore. We can't ironically enjoy North Korean anthems, right? Because now everybody's like, they're North Korean. They want to have America be North Korea. Oh my God. What the fuck is this? Okay. John Ossoff's historical fiery speech. Give me a fucking break. Oliver Larkin phone bag. Hell yeah, brother. Pick mine. We can't have fun anymore.
How fearless can one man be? He faced the storm so low Kirklandly. Like the gospel once said, ain't that a Kirk in the neck? Spoke truth when the cost was high. Lived for Jesus unafraid to die. Like the scriptures wrote, quote, ain't that a hole in the throat? Our hearts keep burning, his words inside us keep turning.
Okay, AI slop is actually starting to get good. This is unfortunate.
That we were
oh no. I think it might not be a bubble chat. Maybe AI is going to take over the world.
Make heaven known, we flame enough to spread. It's just like our prayer said. Tell me quick, ain't it a truck in the neck?
Okay, that didn't quite hit, but it was pretty good so far.
Like the gospel once said, ain't that a Kirk in the neck?
All right, chat, we are 1 minute and 30 seconds from the ending of our hype train. Remember, it's a treasure train where there is a 35% discount on all gifted subs. So more people get to get the Twitch Rewind, access to the VODs, the emotes, and of course, It helps grow the stream by boosting us in the algorithm. So it's never going to be cheaper to give subs than right now. We're going to watch Many and Sam if we hit level 21.
Wrote, quote, ain't that a hole in the throat? Our hearts keep burning.
Hits are sorry, thank you.
Us keep turning the curve.
I hate AI, but this is hilarious. Okay, dude. Okay, dude. Okay, dude. That's not hilarious. Emperor Ovaltine, thank you for the last 5. We've got 10 seconds left.
He stood unshaken, a voice
10 man, thank you for the 5.
a man of conviction, a heart reborn. He spoke the truth when the cause
All right, chat. Thank you so much. We have completed. See how it says you've collected all the level 20 emote? So it's a level 20 hype train. So to reach the level, you have to complete the level. I don't know why it displays the way it does, but thank you so much, guys, gals, non-binary pals. Thank you, Yagopnik, for helping boost the stream, gifting the subs. Thank you, sir. Is the bet concluded? I don't know what we bet, but you were the better man today. You got it. You got me. You defeated my doubts, and you have shepherded the hype. Where am I at the goal now? 6,265 subs. Look at that. That's pretty good. All right. What else are we going to say? Oh, okay. Where were we? I got interrupted while I was thinking. Oh, yeah. Sam SEDER versus HASAN. It's here. We've been hyping this up for a week, but it's finally here. Samuel SEDER versus HASAN.
I actually have a bone to pick with you. Please. Just over a year ago, I called you.
What did I bet? You bet a hundo, didn't you? Huh? Did I? No, I bet the chatter that they. No. It's okay. I'll explain it. I bet the chatter that we hadn't reached level 20 yet, and the way it works is that you have to complete a level in order for it to be level 20. You know, that's what it was. It was a bet against that chatter. It wasn't a bet against you. You bet a hundo on how the hype trade works. Exactly. Not the final result. Oh, fuck. Called again. I wasn't betting you anyway. I was betting some dipshit chatter.
I'm so sorry. You did Jubilee. The response I got
Don't worry. The next time we have a hype train, next time we have a treasure train, I'll donate 100 then. Next time, remind me of this. Because that way we can, we could boost the hype.
You know, civilians was like, I didn't realize it was this
Just
bad.
remind
These
me
are
next time.
Young Gen Zers in a studio in LA. That's MAGA right now. What do you say to this common line now? This is the Democrats' Tea Party. And remember, the Republicans' Tea Party didn't work out so well for the Republicans.
When Donald Trump came down the escalator and they're watching and they're laughing at this, and I'm like, this guy's going to win the primary.
Meanwhile, the Hillary Clinton campaign was saying, this is the best guy we could fit.
Okay, that's not. I'm not going to try to call. I'm not going to call Sam SEDER out, but I was calling into the show and say that they're going to win, and everybody else was laughing. Remember how TYT in that refused to show Trump's face because they thought his campaign was fake and just a publicity stunt. So they refused to show his face.
Face off again.
There's a very difficult needle that the establishment is trying to thread now.
They went there to try and persuade Tucker to run for president.
I would love it. That would be great.
Split the Republican
It would
vote.
split the Republican vote.
You don't think it would take a lot of lefties with him? Were you Pat Buchanan's Jewish cover?
I think I was his beard, and I had some real misgivings over it. At that time, there was no one who was criticizing Israel.
Are you telling me RFK Jr. is a shameless hypocrite?
I would even add...
He does the HASAN, but it's really Medi bait literally every time he talks about Medi. So true. Yeah, we call that the DSA fish. It's the DSA fish. I thought everybody understood because it's not clickbait. It's true. It's just ambiguous. It's not even clickbait. It's just like ambiguous titling. And you got hooked. What, you don't like Sam SEDER?
A lot more descriptions to that.
Who do you think that 28 candidate should be?
Who it should be?
Sam is like 120% better than Mehdi. Sam is 500% better than Mehdi Hassan. Sorry, Mehdi. But Sam doesn't fall into the like right-wing bait nearly as much. Mehdi Hassan does the like, China's bad, guys. North Korea is super bad. Am I right, guys? Like, he does that kind of shit where it's like, bro, we don't need you to do pro-American imperialist propaganda. We're mature enough to understand that China is not a perfect country. We don't need to have American imperialist propaganda. I don't think Sam SEDER does that very often. Whereas Mehdi Hassan always does that. Mike, are you planning on going live again to special election coverage on Oliver's race? I mean, typically I like to be part of the big pile of just here's the thing about election results. There's not much to do. You're just kind of waiting. You know, the event has taken place. There's not much to say other than maybe kind of figuring things out 20 minutes, half an hour faster than other people. There's not much to do.
I'm Mehdi Hassan.
And I'm Sam SEDER.
And we're not kidding. The podcast from today where I get to talk to funny people about serious things, but also I hope...
So like I was gonna like do a special correspondent in Wisconsin, and then it was just like, oh, I'm gonna stand with Francesca instead in the green room. You know what I mean? And just watch these results.
Funny things. Sam SEDER's in the house. How are you?
I am mildly funny. And so
you will be today.
I hope
you
so.
will be today.
Yes.
It's great to have you here. We were just talking off camera that you're old.
I am old. It's true.
How old are you going to be soon?
I'm going to be 60 years old.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
You do not look a day over 57.
Oh, well, thank you. I will take that
56.
and I will bank it. Yes.
Mid-50s.
I appreciate that.
I say that's someone in late 40s.
I will. I will tell
I'm not far behind you.
I will tell my children who make an argument as to how old I am.
It is great to have you on the show. I've been on your show many times.
Yes.
I believe this is your first time.
I do think that the ideal time to have children is when you're 40. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say it. You're at your like you've kind of settled into your job. You're making more money hopefully, and you're more mature, and you've kind of dealt with the trauma of your childhood hopefully, and then but you're young enough that you have the energy or the like I think like 40, 45 is the ideal time, to be honest with you. It should be around 30. If our society was functional, I would agree. If our society was functional and people didn't have to pay off their fucking student loan debt for 15 years and then slowly try to like grind themselves into security, 30 would be ideal if our society was functional, but it's not. So now it's 40.
On our show.
It is. And
I think you're the oldest guest we've ever had on
there
our show.
You go. Yeah,
it's hard biologically once you hit mid 30s. For women, it starts to become harder at 30. 35. You know, it starts to get harder. And for some women, it's, you know, it depends on your own fertility. And women, like, you should do what AOC is doing, right? Which is get your, you know, when you're about your mid 30s, if you want to have children, go and like get your fertility checked. Go maybe freeze some eggs, you know, if you could afford it. I was considered a geriatric pregnancy at 38. Yes, it's because misogyny is strong. But if you actually look at the data, women have healthy pregnancies. You know, there is some like, you know, some people have earlier menopause, and sometimes there can be egg availability issues. So freezing eggs is incredibly painful, unfortunately. True. 35, there's this cheap drop off in fertility, also increased risk for complications for both mother and baby after that. True.
We gotta wrap this up quick before things happen to me.
Before bedtime.
Exactly.
But socially, it is best, you know, socially with the way our society is currently functioning.
Special.
I'm standing
very
10
happy
toes
to
down
be here.
on
I've been very, very impressed with what you've built in such a short period of time. It really is amazing.
And I've said this before, so let's just get the mutual affection out of the way. That, and let me say it on my show, I've said it on your show, you and Majority Report have been inspiration for us because you guys were doing it long before us. because you're old, but you've been doing it. You've been doing it for a while, and definitely you opened doors that some of us have followed through in the independent progressive media space. So, as I say, it was very exciting to have you on the show. I don't know why we didn't have you on before. Have you just come from Majority Report?
I have, yeah.
Nice commitment.
We
You're not
do
tired?
it. I am exhausted.
You do about 3 hours live?
Yeah, we do. Today I did a little bit short. We did about 2.5. The show started out when I launched this iteration. You know, the show originally came from Air America, which was radio, and we would do 3 hours. The podcast started out, I think, when I started it in 2010. It was 45 minutes for the free show, and then 45 minutes for what we now call the fun half. It rarely is fun, based upon the news these days. And there was mission creep, and now it's like 2.5 hours. And then usually my producers are like, dude, we got to go. Just like literally they want to leave.
Not to make you feel any older, but we found a clip of your first publicly available video that we could find on Majority Report's YouTube page.
Oh, geez.
Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Sam SEDER, and I left my computer's power cord at home. This week's bullshit emanates from the mouths of Republican lawmakers and conservative shills from across the country. Namely, they're trying to scare you into thinking that America is turning into Greece, the country, not the musical. You know, with Travolta and the greasy hair and the cars, and not that one. And they're trying to scare you so they can pursue their anti-government conservative agenda. Come on.
That was my That's Bullshit series, actually, I think, which...
Can I be blunt?
Yeah, I looked young.
I mean, you looked young, but that looked a little bullshitty. Why is the camera shaking? It's 2010. It's not 1937.
Here's the thing that Mehdi doesn't understand, which is okay. You're Gen X. Why would you understand the internet? Actually, overly produced stuff like your studio is read as more inauthentic, more calculating, less trustworthy. Because like the more you lock shit down, the nicer and crisper it is, the more produced it is, the more money has to be behind it. And money is not behind things for no reason. Money has a motivation. So people tend to read highly produced stuff as not competent, but rather manufactured, controlled, and therefore questionable. So by being shaky, it was more authentic. It's probably why he succeeded.
Holding the camera.
Couldn't afford a producer, cameraman.
No, that was just me doing That's Bullshit. I think I put out like 10 of those. That was like the interregnum between my Air America stint and launching the podcast.
I wonder, are you nostalgic for that time? Because so put aside the fact that you look much younger and put aside the fact that that was really badly shot. The content is entertaining because you say stuff like Greece and debt. I'm like, what? Oh, he's talking about Tea Party. And it just feels like a much more innocent time.
I mean...
where the debates in this country are about, like, budget levels.
Yeah, well, there was still that sort of pretense, I guess.
Yes,
I mean,
there was still the racism about Barack Hussein Obama. But, you know, they pretended to care about things like constitutional principles and budget deficits.
But it was clear they didn't care at that time. It just...
Agreed.
The big difference at that time was that the mainstream media was fully on board with it. And not just, you know, like, I mean, you had people, I mean, I remember like sort of famously like Ezra Klein and some of those who were talking about Paul Ryan being an intellectual, and it was all a pretense.
The Young Guns book. Do you remember that with Paul Ryan and Kevin McCarthy and Cantor?
Cantor,
who lost the Tea Party.
Exactly.
And they were seen as intellectual. They all bowed the knee to Trump
100%.
at one point or another.
100%.
McCarthy, of course, even after accusing him of insurrection. I take your point, but it just feels like such a more innocent time compared to where we are today in 2026 with the second term Trump. And not just a second term Trump. I do want to talk to you about just the people we have to deal with now, you and I, as progressives. I actually have a bone to pick with you.
Please pick away.
Well, it's already a bone. It's just a complaint.
Well, I hear
a friendly
very
complaint.
often, yes.
A few months ago, or just over a year ago, I called you.
I'm so sorry. I'm
said,
so
Sam,
sorry.
I said, Sam,
I know what
you did Jubilee, and it was really entertaining, and you did a good job, and you did, and it went viral. I was like, they want me to do Jubilee, and I thought I'd call you because you're the only person I know who's done Jubilee, as a progressive in particular. And you said, you should do it. It'll be great. And they're not all crazy.
It was great.
It was great for viewers.
Yeah.
For me, it was a very painful experience. My Jubilee experience. I've discussed this many times about the pros and cons. We could talk about it now because it's like we're in a small club.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the Jubilee people feel too special about themselves, but there's not that many people who've done this shit. I've never done anything crazier than that in my journalistic career. Have you?
No, that was pretty nuts. I mean, I remember covering for when I was the last Air America show I did was Break Room Live with Mark Maron, and I went down not far from our studio to interview people who were protesting Letterman, Tea Party people who were protesting Letterman. And that got pretty crazy. They were convinced that I was using Saul Alinsky techniques on them by asking them, like, what are you doing out here? That's exactly what Saul Alinsky would ask. And that seemed pretty crazy. But this was the most sort of concentrated level of craziness that
Because people don't
saw.
realize, again, you and I know this, you go to this
Is
weird
Mehdi more or less left than Sam? Sam is to the left. The thing about Sam SEDER is that he doesn't spend a lot of time punching left. Sam SEDER doesn't punch left. All he says is we should engage in electoral work. But you're never going to see him punching like Daria Lisa, right? That's the difference between various types of people to our right. If somebody is to my right, but they're tolerant of people to the left, and they only ever talk about the left, like if you're to the left of, say, like Zohran Mamdani, and you spend all your time attacking Zohran Mamdani, then you're useless. If you're to the left of Zohran Mamdani, but you spend your effort doing something that's more left-wing than he wants you to do, that's okay, right? And so that is what I want people to do. Like, if you think you're to the left of me or Hasan or Zohran or whatever, focus on constructive projects. Like, go do labor organizing, go do tenant organizing, go do an ICE safety patrol, right? Go do those direct action things that you believe are better than whatever left-wing electoral project's being worked. But if you spend all your time trashing the most prominent socialists in the country, then you're fucking useless. Then you're actually counterproductive. And you are acting as a useful idiot for the far right. Would you say Emma's to the left of Sam? No. I would say that Sam and Emma are pretty much, I would honestly say Emma's to the right of Sam if I was being honest. I think they're probably either equivalent or she's slightly to the right of Sam. I think she's getting there, though. I think she has been radicalized more and more to the left since she joined Majority Report. I think Matt is the most left-wing member of Majority Report. Matt Leck, currently.
House in East LA. It's boiling hot. I don't know if it happened with you. It was like they had fans on. You walk in pretty much straight away. There's no like pleasantries, makeup. It's not like normal TV stuff. And then you're surrounded by these 20 nut jobs. And it's straight. It's like go.
Yes.
And it's 2.5 hours with one toilet break.
Yes. It was pretty intense. I mean, I do remember like going into the warehouse thinking like there's a greater than 0% chance that I'm just going to get mugged here.
I took security.
Like this isn't like a real.
I took security.
A very odd looking place.
Yes.
And you walk in through like
it's really weird.
It's a sort of a ramshackle.
Even to get
warehouse.
to it, you're driving this neighborhood. You're like, where am I?
No.
A small little parking lot, and then you got like 20 white supremacists waiting for you in a circle.
It was a very odd experience.
Let's play it. Let's play some of it. Let's remind you of the moment, your moment that went viral. Okay. Well, many did, but this was the most viral.
We're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They don't. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
every private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies operate on, are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that.
That face of yours, of course, became an immediate meme. That guy, first of all, if you watch enough Jubilees, you recognize
you see
the
him
folks.
all the time.
I think he was in mine too.
Yeah.
But he didn't speak in mine. He sat. I don't think he ever came forward. And they changed their hairstyles a bit. It's like there, it's tied up. I don't know if that's on purpose, but you do recognize some of these people. In fact, I got the white supremacist lady who you got.
Who has since had I don't know if you followed her career.
No, I try not to.
You know, she was like a trad wife type of person. And she is no longer, I mean, she had like a little bit of a bump after our Jubilee thing, and then had to eliminate all of her social media because she had an affair with another conservative figure. I can't remember his name. And so she's no longer on the scene.
She was the one who came along when we talked about Israel in my show and was like, well, it's one religious group that's controlling everything. I was like, this is not the kind of opposition to Israel that I'm in favor of. But it's so funny to see that guy who's familiar say that stuff. And then you have to respond. And I watched that and I thought, all right, there's a couple of crazies with Sam.
Yeah.
As you pointed out, when I then turn up, there's all crazies. There's maybe
all crazies, and they sort of like, they took an element of the crazy, I think, that showed up on mine and decided like, hey, what happens if we were to ramp this up and make 20 of these people? And that's what it seemed like you did.
Well, it got very dark very quick. I think we can play a clip from mine that was people remember.
Are you a fan of the Nazis? I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't actually say that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
what about the persecution of the Jews?
Well, I mean,
I think of Emma as somebody who was a liberal and has been radicalized towards democratic socialism over the last year. So I want to encourage that. I'm not here to police everybody had a radicalization pipeline, right? And I don't really care about that. I don't care about trying to be like, oh, you used to be a liberal. I used to be a liberal at some point. I was a progressive in 2014. Okay, like it happens. Now it was 12 years ago, but it is what it is, you know? Like, who cares? We all make these transitions in our lives. We all have a trajectory. So I want to encourage that. I'm not trying to be like negative. It's just like I feel like the Kamala Harris election was pretty formative for a lot of people. Right? Like, I don't think that I couldn't tolerate the genocidal denial. For me, that was just too far. I would have normally, like, if Kamala Harris had not been pro-genocide, I would have said you have to vote for Kamala Harris, just as I said you had to vote for Biden in 2020, and just as I said you had to vote for Hillary in 2016. Right? I would have done that, but the genocide was just a bridge too far. I couldn't look past that. And the fact that Kamala Harris spit at our face and said that we were irrelevant, it just made supporting her impossible as far as the, you know, public advocacy. It was despicable and it was arrogant. And, you know, but going forward, let's be completely honest. Donald Trump has been a disaster. All the people that said we had to vote for Kamala Harris to avoid Donald Trump, I think that was a reasonable position to hold. It was a reasonable position to hold because he's been worse than we all thought. Like, Donald Trump has been worse than everybody thought. There's no doubt about that. So I don't have a problem with people who said, saying I told you so for how bad Donald Trump was. That being said, we have to move forward together. And that means all of us need to learn lessons. One, we've got to deny power to the Republican Party by any means necessary. That's lesson one. Lesson two is you can't ignore a genocide and keep young people engaged. We need bold, progressive policies from credible sources if we're going to win. So both of us have to, give a little ground. One, we have to recognize that defeating the Republican Party is priority one. And anybody who's not on board with that is fucking wrong, because there is a physical, demonstrable threat toward all of us. This is a proto-fascist or crypto-fascist administration. And if they had their druthers, they would coup this government. They would rule America as a dictatorship. They would end American democracy. Saying radicalized toward democratic socialism isn't doing the movement any good. You're giving credence to mainstream narrative that DSA are total extremists when democratic socialism is giving the working class rights. The word radical is not a bad word. It just means big change. That's what radical means. And I don't know about you, chat, but pretty much everybody I know wants major change to American society. Radical doesn't mean bad. It just means someone. So when you say you're radicalized, you're saying I have been convinced that American status quo is not okay. And honestly, this is a good conversation to have. I want people to say, why do you believe America needs big change? I'll be like, look around. You think everything's going well? Vote for the other guy. If you want something bold and new with the confidence in themselves, then you should vote for us. Have that conversation. I like that conversation. That's a good conversation to have because I think something like 80% of Americans want either complete and utter change or major changes. That's a conversation worth winning. But radical means root. Yes, exactly. Taking things down and starting again, rebuilding from the foundations up. Most Americans are on board with that. They're on board with rebuilding our society in a way that actually cares about us. Most Americans don't know what they want. I think that Americans do know what they want, but that the job of a politician is twofold. One is to govern, two is to communicate. If you communicate without governing, the material conditions will eventually make you uncredible. That's what happened to, or incredible. That's what happened with Obama. Obama was a talented communicator, but the material conditions were worsening. And so even with all that talent, the Democratic Party got owned because things just kept getting worse. And that ultimately led to Donald Trump, where people were just fed up with talk and they wanted action. And that led to them grabbing the Molotov cocktail, which is Donald Trump. And the other thing is you could govern, but if people don't know you're responsible for the improvements, then you're not going to get credit. So governance without communication fails because people ascribe credit to those that claim it. And communication without governance fails because the material conditions will eventually override your talent in communication. You have to do both. And the synthesis of that is Mayor Mamdani. Mayor Mamdani is a talented communicator, but he's also a talented in governing. Pothole politics, sewer socialism, whatever you want to call it. He's doing both sides of being an effective government leader.
I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But you don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution.
We may have to rename this show because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you can say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
So that moment for me, that's very early on. That's about in the first half hour, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm like, what am I doing here? Did you ever feel like walking out during yours?
There was a couple of moments when that woman who said, like, what's wrong with xenophobia, and the other theocrat, where I was like, wow, this is sort of outside the scope of what we were talking about. But I don't know. I think the value of that was to show people. I mean, you engage in a lot of debates, and a lot of time you realize, like, this isn't necessarily about changing this person's mind. This is about
showing a third party,
illustrating, what's going on to the audience. And this was early in the Trump administration. Like, I think I recorded mine literally a week or so after the inauguration, and I think there was a real misunderstanding of like what we were dealing with. And I think to a certain extent, the response I got from, civilians was like, I didn't realize it was this bad.
Yes.
And so I think there's value in that. It's a little bit painful because you're having to absorb stuff. Like,
friends of mine keep saying, "Oh no, it was amazing. What are you complaining about?" I was like, "Amazing for you. I was wanting to sit there and have people tell me to get out of my country and all that shit, especially as a brown immigrant." What's interesting, what you say about the value of showing people. I agree. That is when people ask me, "Would you do it again?" And I don't know the answer to that question, but or do you regret doing it? But certainly, the value of it was that, which is people think of racist or MAGA people in this country as like old white men in Alabama.
Right.
And these are young Gen Zers in a studio in LA.
Yep.
Right. Many of them are local. And you're like, that's MAGA right now. There is a lot of young MAGA people, very energized online, very committed to, in fact, more committed to the quote unquote MAGA platform than Donald Trump is, who doesn't actually believe anything. And that I thought was worth exposing on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And to me, it's like, look, this is the Republican Party.
But these guys think the Republican Party is too moderate.
Yeah, but I think the Republican Party placed them. Yes. I mean, and so, whether there are elected Republicans or there are Republicans who don't, subscribe to this stuff, what's animating their movement is what you exposed on that Jubilee. And I think it's really important for people to understand the stakes and really, how we got here.
I'm so excited to tell you about our sponsor, Avocado Green.
I mean, like you point to that 2010 video where, we were still talking about budget deficit, but I also did another one where they were protesting the Ground Zero, mosque.
Which wasn't a mosque, it wasn't
at
Ground
all.
Zero, yeah.
And it wasn't at Ground Zero. I actually sort of went down from my apartment to show it, but this was there then. And in fact, in like 06, my producer from the Majority Report on Air America and I wrote a book called FUBAR, which you could probably get on eBay for 83 cents. You might be overpaying a little bit at this point, but the whole thing was about, this is not your...
I feel bad for Mehdi. The crew on that shoot were just as caught off guard and uncomfortable during it. Huh? Damn, perfect job. Props.
Father's Republic.
I've watched enough YouTube videos at this point to be over the ad breaks, I'm sorry.
Republican Party. Like there is a change afoot that I think we were more sensitive to because, we listened to AM talk radio.
Yes.
And it was out there and it was clear where the base of the party was going. And Trump was the sort of like consummation of where they were taking this party.
Also, it wasn't organic on Trump's part. I mean, people forget this. I can't remember where I read it at the time, but back in 2016, when people were analyzing how Trump destroyed these mainstream rivals, 16, 17 of them, because he had his finger on the pulse of the base in a way they didn't.
100%.
And he had it, not directly because Trump doesn't do any homework or any kind of prep and doesn't like to talk to the plebs, but he sent Dan Scavino and all these guys on his team to go listen to AM radio, to go hear what Joe Arpaio was saying in Arizona. And they realized the border, immigration, the wall, that is what gets you out in front of all these people. And Trump until then had never been anti-immigrant in that sense. He was always a racist, but he employs migrants to this day at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
He was a pro-choice Democratic donor, et cetera, et cetera. But he understood, as you say, that is where the base was in a way that Jeb Bush and Carly Fiorina, whatever it was, who were the people running, didn't understand.
Yeah, I mean, there were two things. I mean, one, people forget that Mitt Romney in the 2012 election came to New York and made a big show of kissing Donald Trump's ring at that time. And the other thing was, like, people also forget that George Bush was sold as the CEO president. And you had Paul Ryan at the time talking, these made up stories about kids don't want kids don't want a free lunch. They want a brown bag lunch. And there was this whole idea in the Republican Party that if you were poor, you were morally unrighteous. Yes. And the opposite is if you're rich, you're morally righteous. And so, I remember when Donald Trump came down the escalator, that night I was on Chris Hayes' program, and I think we did a Mystery Science 3000 type of thing with him coming down the escalator, and we stood in front.
I want to say, like, I remember, I can't remember. I want to say it was 2015, but it might have been 2016. I called in to the Majority Report either the first or second time, and I talked about how my experience on the doors was leading to me to believe that Donald Trump could easily win. And that there's no doubt in my mind that America was ready for this type of politics because of the kind of abandonment of the working class that the Democratic Party had done over the last 20 years. That I was very worried about his kind of crypto fascism. And I remember I called him a fascist, right? And I ended up getting into a debate with some Slate author who was like, actually, technically, he's not a fascist because it's not 1935. And I was like, bro, he's very clearly motivated by fascist politics. Call it post-fascist, call it whatever you want.
Front of it. And I remember being in the green room, and I can't remember who was there, or maybe it was in, makeup, and maybe it was with Eamon and maybe Katie Tur. I can't remember. And they're watching and they're laughing at this. And I'm like, this guy's going to win the primary. Like, I didn't think he would win the general, but I was like, he's going to win the primary because the whole Republican Party has been, if you have money, you are morally righteous. And he's going to sit on that stage And whenever he says anything, because he's a billionaire, or supposedly, he certainly is now, whatever he says
you
is
called
going
it
to
early.
Trump. Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember sitting across from Chris going like, this is serious.
Chris Hayes, star of Amazon's The Boys.
Exactly.
Exactly. You and Keith Ellison, if I remember correctly. Keith Ellison went on ABC, George Stephanopoulos, and said Trump would win, and they all laughed at him.
They
on
all
the panel.
laughed at him, yeah.
Meanwhile, the Hillary Clinton campaign was saying, this is the best guy we could face off against. We hope it's him.
Hillary Clinton was uniquely ill-suited to run against Donald Trump.
Should have done great against Romney. Should have gone great against Romney.
Or Jeb Bush or any of
What? No, she wouldn't have. I think Hillary Clinton is literally the only politician in America who would have lost to any Republican. There were 8 years of Democratic Party governance, and they had achieved very little. And the country had the slowest recovery ever from a Great Recession. And she was personally not charismatic. And honestly, a large percentage of the country had just been primed against her. It's almost like legitimately, depending on the results in 2028, I think Hillary Clinton is just, there's no way. And as far as Kamala Harris, like, I think Kamala Harris is also not a very talented politician.
those, but she was running on her CV, which, you know, on paper, I mean, I had some political disagreements with her, but in terms of qualifications, there may have not been a single person
that was a line at the time. She was the most qualified person.
But the problem is like Donald Trump was uniquely situated to attack someone's CV. And, you know, I think the Democratic Party in many respects still has not learned the lesson from that, which is that, like, these elections are change elections. And if you go around and project that, like, we're the establishment, so much so that I'm traveling around with a Republican, even
as
the
Kamala Harris did in 2024.
Exactly.
And of course, Hillary ran on, what was it? Trump ran on Make America Great. America's already great.
Yes. And I would even argue, like, the whole MAGA thing. You know, at one point, Biden, it wasn't just MAGA, it was extreme MAGA.
Oh, yeah.
All you're basically saying to people is, this guy's not the establishment.
Yeah.
And we are.
Yes.
And when people want change,
yes,
they're going to go with the outsider that you're saying he's the outsider.
The beauty of doing a show with someone like yourself is you've just hosted us, anchored us into what I wanted to talk about next, which is a perfect segue. You mentioned the Democratic Party and lessons to be learned.
Qualifications mattered. Zoran wouldn't be mayor of New York City. I think the thing to keep in mind is that qualifications and kind of elite status matter when the society is functional, right? Like, if the society is functional, if the society is delivering, you know, visible and measurable progress, both in the numbers, but also the feelings and the expression in real life, I cannot go outside and go, wow, look at the progress. It's just not possible. I don't walk outside and go, wow, that's really nice. Look at that. And then walk past. But if you go to China, you can. You could walk outside and go, whoa, that thing's I didn't even know that was happening. Whereas in the U.S., it's few and far between. And so when somebody's a member of the elite, they don't have the mandate. Like in China, they have this ancient kind of idea called the mandate of heaven, which is when everything sucks, that's a sign from the gods, from the heavens, that maybe you know, the ruler should be thrown out of office. Right? The emperor family should be overturned. And because if everything sucks, it's because they have been, you know, they've lost the mandate of heaven. And I don't know about you, but everything sucks. So I feel like the elites have lost the mandate of heaven and they've got to be thrown the fuck out. So having this big, long resume, that's just a way of saying you're responsible for everything sucking. You're the person who was in charge when the decisions were made that have resulted in everything sucking ass.
Speaking not long after multiple primary wins by leftists, Abdul al-Sayed being the biggest primary win of 2026 by a country mile, winning a Senate primary. Narrowly, yes, but some would argue doesn't matter how narrow it was. He took out $60 million of spending, the endorsements of the entire party establishment. He wins. Chris Raab wins in Pennsylvania. Malak Kuros wins in Colorado. Claire Valdez and Brad Lander.
7 DSA members are going to be Congress people this year.
According to my colleague Prem Tech, I think it's 9 total self-professed socialists, because Brad Lander is no longer DSA, but he does identify as a Democratic Socialist.
So is Summer Lee. Summer Lee as well. Although Brad Lander is like,
Correct.
So you've got about 9 socialists will be in the House in January by Prem's count. So that's just an interesting phenomenon, but also the lessons learned from Democrats about change, populism,
2%.
anti-establishment messaging. I think that's really important. But what do you say, given we've talked about the Tea Party in 2010, as both of us are old enough to remember that period, what do you say to this common line now, which is, this is the Democratic Party's Tea Party moment? What's happening now?
Well, the first thing I would say is to this question about the Tea Party, but let me preempt Sam's response. One, the Democratic Socialists of America are already way more successful than the Tea Party, okay? We're taking out incumbents. The Tea Party took out, like, what, 4? Like, we've already done way more than that, number one. Number two, that was AstroTurf. We have both the Republican and the Democratic Party establishment working overtime to try to block us. So we're already not AstroTurfed and more successful.
This is the Democrats' Tea Party. And remember, the Republicans' Tea Party didn't work out so well for the Republican. What do you say to that line of argument?
I would say, like, what do you mean it didn't work out?
Well, Sarah Palin was a disaster. They lost control of the legislature when they should have won, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I would argue that they
long-term they won.
Long-term they won. I mean, I remember America. I remember reading a piece in the Atlantic, of all places, saying, like, people have to be careful of Air America because we don't want a situation like, the Rush Limbaugh has been very bad for the Republican Party. The guy ended up getting a medal from a president who ends up being a 2-term president. Yes. It is only analogous in the sense that there is an insurgency and the establishment of the Democratic Party is completely out of touch with the voters.
Which the Republican establishment...
I would say that the Tea Party and MAGA have been incredibly successful for what they set out to do. They have achieved policies that everybody used to scoff at as impossible. To do mass deportations like that, you would have to spend $100 billion. You could never do that. Well, they did it. To overturn the Voting Rights Act, you would need to have radical judges on the Supreme Court. They've done it. Like, they've attacked Iran. They've put us into a war with Iran without even congressional authorization. They have a 6-3 hyper-conservative majority on the Supreme Court. They've passed a Gestapo ICE policy. They have... they've overturned Roe v. Wade. Abortion is banned in major states throughout the country. What have they not achieved? They've cut taxes on the rich. They've cut our services to the bone. What have they not achieved? They've achieved everything they set out to achieve. What the fuck are you talking about? It's been a total success for the Republican Party ideologically.
As we discussed with its voters.
And I think that's really the end of the analogy. I mean, it's a very sort of like a lazy way of making an assessment.
It gives me an ulcer.
But I mean,
the whole both sidesism when it comes to this. You're right. The analogy is it's an insurgency. It's calling out. But then it actually does matter what you're insurgent about.
Well, of course. I mean, that's
issues about, like, people get annoyed when I say this, and you've said it, I'm sure, a version, which is, yes, there's a far right, and yes, there's a far left. The far right wants Nazism and ethnic cleansing. The far left wants Medicare for all. That is not the same thing.
And I would also argue that even in the context of, like, the far right in this country is pretty much a genuine far right. Yeah. Like, I mean, internationally speaking, you start to bump up against fascism.
Yeah. As we saw.
As you saw.
Very quickly. 20 minutes in.
I got no problem with that. But the far left in this country is not communist. The far left.
It's fucking Scandinavian Social Democrats.
It's the Democrats in 1939.
That's true. It's FDR Democrats.
100%.
At best, international comparisons, it's Danish centrist.
And so even in the context of that analysis,
good point.
What you're seeing is really a return to the roots of the Democratic Party, of the modern Democratic Party, which was...
Here's the thing. I don't feel like the historical analysis quite fits, because the failures of the past Democratic Party were twofold. One was the international conditions were different, which allowed for a Red Scare, internal security suppression, because of the Cold War competition against the Soviet bloc. That's number one. Number two, there wasn't a cross-racial working class coalition because of the Democratic Party's deep reliance on Southern Dixiecrats who were fucking racist and segregationists. So it is not just going back. It is a new thing. It is a new thing, which is taking on the lessons of the failures of the Soviet bloc and taking on the failures of the racial bribe and the racism of the previous New Deal's, political compromises. And we've now updated all of that with new ideas based on those lessons learned. So we are a new version of the left that has the legacies of those and the lessons of the past while updating to something new that is intersectional and understands how important racism is to upholding the structures of capitalist society.
The New Deal. If Mamdani was to come out and actually propose things that FDR did,
yes,
there would be people on network television who would
I
light
wish Joe
themselves on
Biden
fire.
had pitched court backing.
Yeah, yes.
I wish he had done that.
Yes.
By the way, we could argue, using your point, that both parties are basically returning to older versions of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
The Democratic Party under Mamdani and Abdul and Bernie are trying to go back to FDR Democrats, and the Republican Party are trying to go back to Jim Crow Democrats.
Yeah, they're trying to go back to like 1890s and, pogroms in South Carolina against black politicians. So I think, as a very surface level, you can make that argument. But what is really clear, I mean, if I was someone who was a conservative Democrat, I would be very angry at Kristen Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer because they keep failing in a way that is pretty stunning. That $60 million will not help you with the deficit you created by picking certain candidates.
Liz Smith, who is pretty centrist, I think it's fair to say, worked for Mallory McMorrow in this race, worked for Pete Buttigieg, etc. I saw her on MSNBC, or MS Now as it's known, saying that the genius is, sarcastically, the genius is at AIPAC and the DSCC, or whatever it's called, the Senate Campaign Committee, Kirsten Gillibrand, they fucked this up.
Yep.
They messed this up.
Without a doubt.
And actually, McMorrow would have been a stronger candidate against El Sayed any day of the week than
I agree with you. And the interesting thing about McMorrow, I think like the story that hasn't been really told too much is, why did she fail? Like there was a moment where people understood in that wing of the party that Haley Stevens is not quite up to this.
Yes. People keep thinking that, like, I'm a critic of Israel, so I'm hating on Haley Stevens because of her Israel. Her Israel views are batshit. Like, she dreams about Israel. She won't vote for any kind of restrictions on aid when even people like Nancy Pelosi are voting on restrictions to aid. But separate to that, even if she was pro-Palestine, I promise you I would also be critical because she's just not a good politician.
No, she's not.
And Mallory McMorrow is.
Yes.
Whatever my disagreements. I mean,
Here's the thing about Mallory McMorrow. I legitimately, like, if Mallory McMorrow was running against any other person but Abdul El Sayed, if she hadn't listened to those centrist consultants, I think she had Liz Smith on her campaign, right? If she had run in any other situation, I think she would have won. It was bad luck that she ran against Abdul El Sayed, who was a meat grinder. And she fucked up by making it about Hasan, which motivated all young people to like care about the race. She would have won had she just not listened to Liz Smith. And honestly, the way she's acted after the primary was over by running to be Abdul's surrogate and defending him and going out there, I think that is only raising her profile.
One of the first people to interview her when she first went viral with that speech in the State House calling out the Republicans. I was at MSNBC and Peacock at the time, and I was very impressed with her political skills and charisma and communication skills. I think she fucked up by going after Hasan Piker, whoever gave her the advice to make
what I think
Hasan Piker the Nick Fuentes of the Democratic Party immediately. If you look at the polls, I know correlation is not causation, but look at the timeline. That's when she starts dropping in the polls.
100%. And, what's the subtext? What was she trying to communicate there? I mean, like, Hasan Piker was not an issue in...
She made him an issue.
Well, but why? Right?
And it backfired.
Well, she made him an issue because she wanted to do this thing where she was claiming to be pro-Palestinian, but also wanted to signal to the Israeli money that she was on their side structurally. By going after prominent pro-Palestinians, she was trying to do it was basically the Ethan Klein strat, which is claim to be pro-Palestinian while try to discredit prominent pro-Palestinian advocates. And guess what? Everyone's too smart for that. And they figured it out. And stupid for her, Hasan is a king of the attention economy. So by going after Hasan, you encouraged everyone to talk about the race, and then all the left-leaning, socialist, progressive young people lined up behind Abdul, and it blew up in your fucking face.
It was like trying to like create some type of Islamophobia, trying to raise the issue of we need to defend Israel.
Yes.
And what's interesting to me is that like there's a very difficult sort of needle that the establishment is trying to thread now, and you cannot. She's bringing up Hassan Piker for the sake of donors.
Yeah.
There's nobody else who knows who they are. And so you cannot satisfy those donors and also seem normal, for lack of a better term, to the majority of the electorate.
My favorite story out of the whole of Michigan, perhaps my favorite story on the reporting that's come out, you talked about she's trying to satisfy these donors, and these people will never be satisfied because, of course, Kirsten Gillibrand, a woman who called Zoran Mamdani an advocate of global jihad, has still never publicly apologized to him or to the Muslim community. I believe she privately apologized. She apparently accused McMorrow of being in the DSA. So, like, no matter how much you moderate, if you're slightly to the left of Genghis Khan, the Democrat establishment will say you're a socialist communist. Forget Fox. Forget the right. Schumer and Gillibrand will do it for you.
It is fascinating to me to watch this, like, sort of this talking point ossify. I mean, I don't know if you remember when they used to say, where the Republicans used to say, Barack Obama's got Chicago-style politics. And I just remember at the time thinking, like, there's no one alive who knows what you're talking about. Like the Chicago-style politics, you're talking about something that was like 70 years ago. And its resonance is gone. They used to say San Francisco Nancy Pelosi because they were trying to say like she's got gay values or something. And that became sort of anachronistic in many respects. And I think we are on the cusp of those talking points becoming similarly. They're already losing their effectiveness, but I think we're a cycle or two away from like people just being like, you're a lunatic to talk about that.
Not just you're a lunatic, but you're actually emboldening the socialists, right? So they have so devalued the S word by throwing it at Obama, Pelosi. Joe Biden was a communist. Kamala Harris is a Marxist. These people are center-right under any European political system.
I mean, I would honestly... I think the best historical analogy to Nancy Pelosi would probably be something like Franz von Papen in Germany, which is a conservative who is concerned about Nazis' rise, but is willing to work with them for the like principles of the capitalist class. So I would probably call her right wing. That's probably the closest political analogy. Sometimes people will bring up like the SPD as an analogy for the Democrats. Like, I don't know if you guys, and by the way, there are some like online, Marxist Leninists, with anime avatars who will be like, the SPD betrayed the revolution, and that kind of thing. And they'll try to they'll help the centrists in analogizing the SPD to the Democrats. But in the reality is that's not true. That's not true at all. The Democrats are closer to, I wouldn't even say the center party, to be honest with you. I would say the conservatives who allied with Hitler. Like the amount of like right now, today, Hakeem Jeffries just endorsed, what's that fat slob's name? Fuck, I forgot his name. The Islamophobe who calls for genocide. Randy Fine. Randy Fine, by any reasonable definition of the word, is a fascist. And he's running against a Nazi who's anti-Israel. So it's Nazi A versus Nazi B. And the Democrats came out and they like endorsed / spoke out against Dan Bilzerian. Why the fuck are you saying anything for Randy Swine? It's because they are closer to Randy Fine than they are to Elizabeth Warren politically.
These are center-right capitalist politicians. And the idea that in America they're socialist, Marxist / communist, you're now seeing Trump escalate the communist phrase. Part of that is Stephen Miller trying to use the anti-terror playbook to go after people. There's a dangerous element to it. But there's also a moronic comedic part of it, which is you've had to escalate the rhetoric because socialist doesn't have the same impact anymore. So now you have to say Abdul El-Sayed is a communist when there's literally nothing communist about him, let alone socialist. He doesn't identify as a socialist. The idea that you would have universal health care and that's communism. All that does is that means people think, well, communism is pretty good. If that's what communism is, that's good. So what you're doing is you're actually...
There's a reformation of the word, but I would also argue it's because, you know, I grew up in the Cold War and...
you're old.
And I am old. And increasingly, the electorate did not. And so the resonance of that word is losing its sort of valiance in our political discourse.
Liking this video? Then don't just watch, hit like. Share and subscribe.
So is it your official prediction that Oliver Larkin will win? Here's my feeling. I don't know. I hate to say it. I feel like I'm inclined to believe that he can pull it off, but that district is just so old and so pro-Israel. I don't have a good sense of it. And there's only one poll that I've seen. Well, there's two polls that I've seen. One that showed Larkin down quite a bit, and another that was a text poll that showed them kind of neck and neck. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic, but I don't really feel like I have enough of a sense. You know, like how many of you were on the phone banks? Is there anybody who phone banked in the chat? How did you get? What did you hear on the phone banks? A lot of like, you know, did you hear any kind of hesitations? They liked Oliver. They were against, no one answered? Really? I thought they had a predictive dialer. Only many boobers that didn't like me calling, but did they respond about who they were supporting? I got a boober who said they wouldn't have voted, but they will for Oliver because I called. Some people did not know who Oliver was, undecided. I think Oliver said there were single-digit answer rates. Yeah, when he came on the stream yesterday, he said that. I think it's always going to be like that on the phones, though. Some of them kept saying, I'm voting Democrat, leave me alone. Oh, no. I had an older lady who said, if he loses, do you think it'll be an election? I don't know. You know, I think it'll be a good sanity check. I got cussed out for what reason? Calling or for Oliver in particular? Phone banking isn't what it used to be. Yes, that's very true. Same thing with door knocking. All like field programs are not as what they used to be, honestly. His district also has some of the most stubborn boomers ever. Yeah, true. Even if they lose, Manley, Larkin, and Nixon should all run it back in 28. Manley is the race where I think, you know, listen, if I'm not the liberal. I don't run around supporting liberals, right? Like I'm not the big like liberal supporter where, you know, if you're in a deep blue seat, are you DSA? Are you a DSA endorsed candidate? If you are, I'll go for war for you. If you're not, I'll go. I'm busy. You know, like that's the way I feel. You know, I'm not throwing around my weight unless I feel very confident in you. Did you see Ostodox's post? But he say he got cussed out after mentioning Israel. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be some like of all the districts in the country, I would say that his is probably the most pro-Israel. You know, there's a couple districts out there where there are concentrations of Zionists. So we'll see. It's definitely up there. Why did Oliver run there? Because that's where he lives, and they redistricted after he had launched his race. You know. So it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say. You know, like they changed the district lines, if you guys remember, and he ran in the district he lives in. You know, like it is what it is. Elijah is a socialist. Is it kind of a Kat Abu Ghazaleh thing where they started out as a progressive, but then as the momentum picked up, they kind of like declared themselves to be socialist? Yeah. But by the way, it doesn't mean I think he's exciting. I would support him. I support him. I'm just saying that, like, I hope people are learning that you need to line this stuff up earlier. Like the reason why I'm constantly telling people to support DSA is because of the nature of campaigns. The nature of campaigns is they're ephemeral. They're like a stream, right? a single stream could do really, really, really well. But unless there is a structure that can grab hold of the audience and then have them start to build their lives around the habit of the stream. Like, it's the difference between having one stream do really well and be a successful streamer. To be a successful streamer, you have to have this infrastructure that's built up. You have to have a community formed. And DSA can take the energy of a campaign, which is ephemeral, and turn it into a structure that reoccurs. And that structure can make future campaigns successful by maintaining the local knowledge, by maintaining the organization, by maintaining the volunteers, by building up kind of institutional knowledge. And that way more left-wing candidates can win by building up a fundraising list, building up a volunteer base, building up, community connections. That's why I want people to be DSA and not just, I'm a socialist. Do you see what I mean? Because that's the lesson we should have learned from Obama. The problem with Obama is we had this great, amazing grassroots blow up campaign, and then it got dissipated and it went nowhere. And that allowed the Republicans to strike back because there was no core that was continually engaged and fighting. And the reason why Obama let it dissipate is he didn't want to be pressured from the left. Mike, you've been advancing left policies. Do you think a country that does not have a big left figure, but the people are sympathetic to it, how would you advance left politics from starting from scratch in a religiously dominated country? Every major religious tradition has some aspect of a liberation theology tradition, right? So if it's a Catholic or whatever, you can find a tradition that marries kind of socialism with a spiritual aspect. I have always been an advocate for trade unionism and attempts to compete for state power. I don't feel so good. Independent expenditures, pro Wasserman Schultz, 395,564, pro Manley, 25,754. I mean, that's not that much money. It's not that much money. It is a lot more than Manley, but that's not that much. Would you say the new patch of politicians are more radical than the New Deal? Yes. Yes and no.
Subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a video or live show. But if you want early access to exclusive content, then you have to head to Zeteo.com and subscribe now. You'll be supporting fearless, independent journalism. Do you agree with me? I assume you do, but I'm going to ask anyways. As someone who's covered this stuff for a long time, and we just saw you in 2010 talk about the Tea Party, but the moment we're in 2026, just as you do Majority Report every day, I'm doing multiple things for Zeteo every day. How hard is it to cover this news cycle, this politics? It just feels insane.
It's
I can't say
relentless.
Not just relentless, but every day I'm like, that can't be true. That can't be real. Did Donald Trump really say that? Did this story about this corruption really happen? I've used this line many a time over the last, 10 years since he emerged on the scene, which is, if you put this stuff in front of a Netflix writer's room, they would say, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
The House of Cards writer, whatever it is, they would say, this is insane. We're not putting this in our TV show. That is too on the nose. That is too ridiculous. That plot twist would never happen. And it happens.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm in crazy land.
We are through the looking glass in many respects. The pace of
Do you think
things
that goes
crazy.
if/when Trump goes? Or is that's American politics now?
I mean, I think we're going to go through a period. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think it's going to continue to be insane. I mean, I think this is hopefully a uniquely crazy time, and what I find really challenging about it is what part do we cover? The corruption is probably as excessive as it's been in the history of the country.
Never seen anything like
that. But to me, the real story that's going to resonate, because, when Trump is gone, his corruption is gone. There's vestiges of it. But the real problem is what the sort of, the Republican, the diehard Republican and conservative movement people have done, like Russ Vought, destruction of the IRS, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CDC, the FTC, the FDA. These agencies have been so decimated that it's we're not going to feel it, for years to come, and for the vast majority of people are not going to be able to put together the idea of hey, how come it's 6 months later and I haven't got my IRS refund? Or how come if I eat lettuce, I get explosive diarrhea
or die?
Why are we worried about measles at my kid's school right now? And on and on and on. Like, why do we have a greater concentration of wealth? I mean, all of these things are going to be a function of the destruction of these agencies. And regardless of who becomes president in 2028, there's only so many resources you have to rebuild these things. Some of these agencies have existed for 100 years, decades, and it takes a long time to build up.
It's much easier to destroy than build.
Of course.
And they know that, and Roosevelt knows that. You mentioned 28 a couple of times, 2028. Joe Kent and Marjorie Taylor Greene were seen in a picture with Tucker Carlson in his home recently in Maine, all sitting around the table.
Yes, it was very woody.
It was very woody. He loves his wood. There's a lot of wood in Tucker Carlson's house, if you watch his show, as I do, for my sins. Joe Kent, former National Counterterrorism Director for Donald Trump, quit over Iran, blamed Israel. He has been accused of all sorts of white supremacist neo-Nazi ties when he was running for Congress. He went on Cenk Uyghur's podcast on the Young Turks, and he talked about how they went there to try and persuade Tucker to run for president as the leader of a new third party. What do you make of that?
Well, one, I would love it. That would be great.
Split the Republican
it would
vote.
split the Republican vote.
You don't think it would take a lot of lefties with him? Because me and Shadi Hamid from the Washington Post, we got attacked a few months back when we said that we had gone to visit family and friends, and we noticed that in the Muslim community, at least, a lot of Muslims are like, I'll vote for Tucker Carlson because he's speaking out against foreign wars.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the
there's absolutely a how do I put this in a way? I'm white. Okay, everybody, Mike is white. All right, everybody's white. Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit uncomfortable for a white person to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, which is there is a performative conservatism as a way to be accepted as part of the assimilationist strategy. It's like when people go and work for the cops or go and work for ICE who are, Latino. It's like, how can someone be an immigrant, come from immigrant stock, and then go work for ICE? How does that make sense? Well, it's about getting accepted, right? It's about it's a coping mechanism. It's a way of trying to protect yourself and your family by performatively accepting the institutions of the domination. So you're always going to have a population of people that do that from oppressed classes. That's why standpoint alone is not good enough. You're going to have your Nick Fuenteses. You're going to have your Candace Owenses. You're always going to have these people, you're going to have your Clarence Thomases, people who performatively support the oppressive institutions in order to make a place for themselves. So that is going to happen. You're never going to have universal and unalloyed support by a group.
Since of a Democrat who is speaking out against for foreign wars, water flows downhill, and there's a lot of people who don't want that. I mean, I hope that it's hard for me to imagine we're going to have a Democratic presidential nominee who's going to be able to get through that process, the primary process.
Being as pro-Israel as predecessors. I mean, this is Hassan Piker's argument recently that the 28 nominee won't be super pro-Israel.
It's inconceivable in my mind.
So that might neutralize some of the Tucker attraction.
Yes.
Do you think the main threat is to the right?
I think the main threat is to the right. And I would say that I think it's also bullshit.
I don't think he's going to do it.
No.
I think he's going to endorse J.D. Vance.
Yes.
He's made it very clear he loves J.D. Vance.
Yes. And I think also, like the idea of
Donald Trump will endorse whoever is popular. You guys don't understand Donald Trump. Donald Trump will endorse whatever is popular and whatever protects his grift. He has no ideological loyalty. Right now, it's J.D. Vance. But if J.D. Vance is failing, he'd endorse Tucker.
A third party run creates some type of credibility that you can then impart to a J.D. Vance.
The man called RFK Jr., who may have done exactly that.
Yes.
Third party until he's suddenly Trump, suddenly MAGA.
Yes.
And then he's imparting all that. Oh, look at me. I'm bringing my independent folks with me. It's shepherding people towards MAGA, which is what Tucker Carlson may do with J.D. Vance.
Without a doubt. And I think also it's a way of getting leverage. Right? I mean, RFK ran. I don't think he thought he could win. I think it was a way of negotiating some type of leverage so he could get into that situation.
I think he ran thinking he would negotiate with the Democratic nominee and ended up
he said
with
himself,
the Republican.
I mean, the irony.
He called Trump a Nazi and Hitler, which is ironic.
Yes. In fact, I think I was on the radio with him when he did that back in the day. But he ran. At the beginning, when he ran against Biden, people forget that he was he was running in the Democratic nomination. He was talking a lot about how we have a revolving door and that government is full of people who are transactional. And then he basically admits, I offered, Harris my support if she would give me what I wanted, and she didn't.
You're telling me RFK Jr. is a shameless hypocrite? I'm stunned.
I would even add a lot more descriptions to that, but on top of it.
Bigoted, etc. We can go down the line. Just coming back to these right-wingers who are claiming to be anti-MAGA or anti-Trump, pure MAGA, whatever you want to call it. It's a discussion we've had on this show many times. I talked about it with Crystal Ball. I talked about it with Bassem Youssef. Bassem went on Candace Owens' show, and I said, why'd you do that? And Bassem's argument is, if the house is on fire, you take a bucket from whoever's nearby. And his argument is, and I hear this from a lot of people on the left, in the Muslim community, which is...
Except they don't have a bucket. They don't have a bucket. They're lying. They don't have a bucket. And it's our job, and this is the problem I have with so many of these kind of like populist alliance shit, is they're not populists. They're conservatives. What they object to is racial equality. Okay? That's what they hate about to them, the status quo is bad because it enforces at least de jure racial equality. They want to strip that law. They're not, they're reactionary. They're not populist. They have a torch.
Put all these other things aside. Yes, we can disagree with these people on multiple issues, immigration, the economy, taxes, blah-de-blah. But it's a genocide, and Tucker Carlson's saying the right thing on a genocide. Candace Owens is saying, and this is not me saying it, but other people are saying, she's standing up against Israel. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very strong on arms. So that's why we should work with these people. Do you buy that argument?
No. If I go on Tucker Carlson's show, I mean...
A bunch of people have who are, quote unquote, on our side of the argument. Trita Parsi was on recently talking about Iran.
Right.
A good friend of mine.
Right.
Cenk Uyghur's been on. Anna Kasparian's been on.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other people, but there's been certain people who've gone on.
Am I happy that Tucker Carlson is advocating that we should not be supporting Israel to his people? Yes, that's good. If I had a button to stop him from talking, that I wouldn't press that button. But what value am I bringing to that cause by going on his show? None, as far as I can tell. All I'm doing is bringing him some value. And, I mean, if I was to go on the show...
People would say, just to be devil's advocate, people would say the value you're bringing is you're showing there's a coalition of Americans on right and left who are against these endless wars.
Yeah. And what is the, to whom am I showing that?
The establishment.
Well, the establishment can see that I disagree with the war, and they can see that, and they can do the addition if they want to do the addition. That's not a very hard math problem. When I go on that show, what I am saying, unless I am arguing with him the entire time, which is what I would do, is I am saying there's something for you. My audience, I'm saying this to my audience. There's something for you to hear to take a look at and encourage. Like, I am happy that he's doing that. But this is not like we're both going to sponsor legislation that's going to go through. Like, what is the material thing that I'm achieving there?
I mean, you're both podcasters with the greatest respect. It's like you're not, as you say, you're not lawmakers trying to do fine gold, whatever it is.
Right. And if we were, organizing a protest, I could say, like, okay, I could maybe see, like, from a logistical standpoint, but we're podcasting and we have an audience. And when you go on to a show, you're offering some imprimatur to the extent that you
Unless you're going on to debate with them, which is not what people want.
Right.
So people tell me as well, they said, if Tucker Carlson ever invited your show, I'm sure he wouldn't. I'm sure he's not a fan of mine, and I'm not a fan of his. You should go on his show. that's true. We would agree in the Gaza section, but there'd be multiple other things I would have to challenge him on.
Yeah, and
which is why he'll probably never invite me to the show.
It's a different media environment. Like back in the day when MSNBC was right-wing.
Wait, what was the thing? Oh, Tucker Carlson going on?
I'm talking like 04. I'm old. Tucker had a show on that program. He did. And he would have Buchanan fill in for him. And Buchanan would invite me on when he wanted to criticize Israel. And I was like...
And did you go on?
And I went on.
So isn't that a contradiction?
Well, I think it was a different media environment, and I don't think I had... It's a different medium, first of all, radio to TV. And
you Pat Buchanan's Jewish cover.
I think I was his beard, and I had some real misgivings over it. But, you know, at that time, there was no one in the mass media who was criticizing Israel.
Yeah, now it's a very different ballgame.
Now it's a very different environment.
What frustrates the hell out of me when I speak to kind of normie crowds, and people say, oh, Tucker and Candace and my MTG, everywhere I go, especially Muslim guys, I've said this before on the record, like there's no live Q&A I do where somebody new doesn't say, hey, what do you think about Tucker, MTG, Candace? I'm like, oh, here's that question. What frustrates me is, and this is why the left is so bad at messaging and so bad at, you know, banging its own drum, is like, they have come around to our way of looking at the world, not the other way around. We were here first. We were against the genocide from day one.
Yeah.
We were the ones calling out Israel before October the 7th. You guys are Johnny-come-latelys. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying, I stand with Israel in the weeks after October 7th. She was putting in resolutions condemning Rashida Tlaib as a Hamas terrorist, right?
Well, she also could have stayed in Congress and actually had a material impact on these
she criticizes AOC for not taking. So that's, I'm glad, like you, I'm glad they're saying what they're saying. I wouldn't press the stop button either. I love it when MTG is calling out Trump. I love it when Tucker Carlson is calling out Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz. But make no mistake, you have come around to our way of thinking and not the other way around.
And I'm not going to whitewash. First off, I would also argue that the impetus for, I mean, listen, I remember when Tucker Carlson called Iraqis a bunch of monkeys.
Yes. And he said immigrants make America dirty.
Yes. I mean,
Randy Fine looking at people's mail. Okay, wait a minute. We got to pop in real quick. Of course, Mike will never game. I have gamed. I have literally gamed. I'm pretty sure I have like gaming clips. I had a gaming clip where I got revived in the gulag, and then it just drops me into the deep into the fucking gas, and I die. Randy Fine looking at people's mail. Wait, Randy was knocking doors alone? Alone? Really? Candidate alone? God damn, he has no fans. Creepy, 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 creepy boy. What unholy district does someone have to live in for your choices to be Dan Blazarian or Randy Fine? It's called gerrymandering, bro. They put every Democrat into one district and then every single Republican and you know, and then it divides the other districts so they're like 65-35 Republican. So the only choices are right or even further right.
I think if you watch a lot of Tucker Carlson, you see this stuff much more than gets presented.
Even now.
Yes.
Even now. When he's interviewing Huckabee or someone, he's smuggling in great replacement stuff, and there's a lot of brown people in the UK and all of that stuff.
100%. And the impetus for his anti-Israel perspective is not about Palestinian liberation. I would also argue that there's whiffs, if not things more explicit about Jews involved in that as well.
Certainly Candace Owens.
Certainly Candace Owens. I mean, I remember being at the RNC, I think it was, in 2004. No, it was the DNC in 2004. Air America, nobody knew what it was. We're on Radio Row. I'm talking to a guy, and he sort of vaguely knew that we were liberal. And he goes, yeah, I'm not with these neocons. I'm a Buchananite. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And he goes, yeah, there's neocons. It's really just a bunch of Jews.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like,
Mm.
Am I the first Jew you've met? Like
you were like, I'm a Buchananite. No,
yeah, I mean,
but no, you're right. I mean, and it's much
there's
worse
that
today.
strain
But it's
there.
much worse today. In those days, it was fringe. Buchanan was fringe. Whatever you think about the Republican Party back then, they kept him fringe.
Well, let's be clear.
Today,
Oh, they've got him going on r/Florida. Randy Fight caught voting for other representatives of the Florida House.
Every single day, a new flavor.
Okay, so that's illegal.
America First is. It is Buchanan was very prominent in that tradition.
But when he was prominent in that tradition, he was fringe within the Republican Party. Today, it is the Republican Party's mainstream, right? Donald Trump hosted Nick Fuentes for dinner at his house.
Yes.
No previous Republican president would ever dare to have done that. Not George
Buchanan
W. Bush.
was a speechwriter for Nixon.
Indeed. And Nixon is probably the other person who was anti-Semitic very clearly if you listen to the tapes.
Yep.
But in public, I don't think would have hosted a Holocaust denier at his home for dinner. So my point is, it's been mainstream today. And if you get into the young people, the Groyper stuff, you know about, you did see a story recently?
Oh, Vio has made me pulled pork with mac and cheese and a piece of cornbread. Wow. Wow. Thank you, Vio.
Axios Politico, one of these DC political outlets, did a story about how
Early
Republican
lunch.
Congress members can no longer hire any...
It's 11 a.m. Lunch starts at 10:30, chat. Lunchtime starts at 10:30. For those of us who wake up at 6 a.m., lunch at 10:30 is totally fine. When you wake up at 9, you lazy...
Good staffers out of college.
Right.
Because they're all dumbasses, Groypers.
I was a baker. Lunch was at 9 for me. That's called breakfast, bro.
Loyalists, they have no actual expertise in anything. And people have talked about how many Groypers are already on the Hill, how many people follow Fuentes. You're seeing all these stories about the New York Young Republicans Club. There's not a week goes by where some student or college or TPUSA or Young Republicans Club is not exposed with like a text group talking about Jewish people, black people, Muslims in white supremacist ways. And my worry is like, we're not, the media's certainly not talking about it. You and I did Jubilee. I did 5 arguments on Jubilee, or 4. Yeah, 4 arguments. My 4th one was Donald Trump is ethnically cleansing Gaza. None of them wanted to get up and argue. They all hated Donald Trump's position on it. They're all anti-Israel, but they're not pro-Palestine, as you say.
Right.
They're anti-Israel. One of them, the one who was on both of our shows, she was very clear that it's all about one particular religious group controlling the president.
Right.
And people said some stuff after that show, which I can't repeat, some horrifically anti-Semitic stuff off camera as we were leaving that warehouse. And I remember thinking to myself, Jonathan Greenblatt, if only you could be here with me today. You spend all your time in the ADL monitoring some Palestinian students' placard on campus. Meanwhile, there's an entire generation of white Christian Americans who are going to be in positions of power very soon who want to basically do old school, Nazi-esque anti-Semitism.
I think it was there, and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think saying that that Buchanan was marginal, I think it places him on the spectrum in the wrong place.
Okay.
I think he was.
By the way, Buchanan was not marginal. What the fuck are you talking about? He almost won the primary against George H.W. Bush. He was a very strong candidate. The like Nazi Buchananite movement was always doing well. And then they had, like, what are you talking about? That's wrong.
In many respects, central. That ilk was there.
I agree.
And it fueled a lot of stuff.
I agree.
But
they were never allowed to take center stage.
They were never.
The RNC.
They didn't have the power as much. Although Buchanan.
Yes, they were. He literally gave an endorsement speech. We literally did, which was, by the way, you would know if you listened to the Reaction podcast, chat. You would know all about this because we covered it in our episode on the John Birch Society. So if you want to know more than Mehdi Hasan about the history of the American left, listen to the Reaction podcast, and you will be literally more intelligent than almost every other commentator that you ever. The one thing about listening to my stream in the Reaction podcast, I'm going to ruin a lot of other commentators for you. You're gonna have a lot of commentators that you lose respect for because you're gonna realize they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So if you want the burden of not wasting your time on bad commentators, then please listen to the Reaction podcast, listen to this stream, and you'll have a lot more time to like do other hobbies.
Also in '93, very famously spoke.
But then he also ran as a third-party candidate.
Recommendation for Reaction podcast: evangelical power players and how they work. True.
Yes, but I think that was used as an electoral quiver.
Yes.
or an arrow in the quiver. And now I think they're finding that like almost all the arrows in the quiver are that. And so it has definitely grown and metastasized.
You're not angry on the reaction podcast? I heard the one you showed yesterday. You were real chill. Yeah, I'm more chill on that. We're more intellectual and we're more having a conversation between adults. You know? I don't get as worked up on that. So it's a good entry to Mike from PA content.
But I don't think it grew from the margins. I think it grew out from the center.
Okay.
And so
I think there's a line from Max Boot, the Washington Post columnist, neocon, now never Trumper. I think it's his line, which is the Republican Party used to be a right-wing party with a white supremacist fringe, and now it's a white supremacist party with a right-wing fringe.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I feel that's an accurate description of where we are. What happens next, Sam? Where do we go from here in terms of you've got this insurgent left on the Democratic side, you've got this right-wing split between kind of the traditionalists, you know, maybe it's Rubio Vance is a good reflection of that, the old neocon establishment Republican Party, and J.D. Vance trying to be MAGA. I don't think he believes anything. Where does our politics
Mike, is an Air Force major calling for the president's impeachment notable? I mean, it's notable in the sense that he's intentionally breaking the law and he's going to go to jail. I mean, he's going to go to prison. So that is very like that is a conscience. That's a thing to do for conscience, but his career is fucked and he's going to prison. So that's pretty badass.
I think, you know, I have a lot of hope in like the youth, you know.
Well, some of the youth, as we've discussed, some of them are groupers.
Right. But you know,
the majority.
Generally,
yes.
Yeah, the majority. And I think the party is, I think we're going to move to the left in 2028. But again, there's all these challenges that our government has been decimated in a way that I don't think we've ever experienced. And, you know, what Mamdani is showing in New York is you need to provide material benefits to people in one form or another. And those material benefits can range from, you know, faster buses to free childcare, or to just like a general spirit, like a civic spirit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a real challenge for whoever's president next to be able to deliver good government. You know,
not just good government. What Mamdani has done so well, and let's see what Abdul al-Sayed does, is communicate with success.
Communicate.
I mean, Joe
with
Biden's
success,
big
yes.
failure was his inability. I mean, put Gaza to one side, of course, if you can put a genocide to one side. On the domestic policy front, he actually did do some good things. I think you and I can agree, right?
But
overlooked
many
things.
of them reversed themselves. They sunsetted.
Although, again, we can get into that. Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, et cetera, et cetera. He didn't reverse all of them per se.
He did not reverse them.
But even the things he didn't reverse, even the things he pulled off in a domestic achievements, whether it's Inflation Reduction Act.
We eliminated half of child poverty
That
in
was
a
insane.
year.
Thank you, Joe Manchin.
And there was
Fuck you, Joe Manchin.
There was, but also, how much was this mentioned in the media?
Yes.
Like,
but he didn't go to war with Manchin over it. He didn't do an FDR.
No.
And he didn't talk about his achievements. And so just providing material achievements is not enough in the social media climate we're in, where people are able to spin it away. You also have to be a communicator. Zohran Mamdani is in front of us all the time, telling us what he's done, doing.
What the fuck? What a weird computer error. He said Zohran Mamdani and the text says Rahm Emanuel. Huh? What?
Also have to be a communicator. Zohran Mamdani is in front of us all the time, telling us what he's done, doing it in a fun way to communicate his wins.
100%.
He's opening a community swimming pool. He doesn't put out a press release. He goes, jumps in the pool in his suit. So everyone's like, oh, why is he jumping in his suit? Oh, it's a pool. It's a community pool. So I think, look, that is really important. And that leads me to my last question to you, which is, who do you think that 28 candidate should be who can pull off these different things we need to pull off?
I don't know who it should be. I really don't have a sense, because I think someone's going to emerge, and it really.
Do you think it's to quote Donald Rumsfeld, known unknown? You think there's going to be someone we're not thinking about that comes through?
I think it's going to be a function of who some of the people that we may know of, how in touch they are with what the future of the Democratic Party is. So, for instance, like a guy like Ossoff.
Yeah,
I think he's going to win big in Georgia. And I think he is positioned, or could position himself to be, you know, like you say, one of the things that Biden did very well is he was cut from a certain mold. Let's put again, very difficult to put the genocide aside. But in terms of his domestic work in the first year,
if you want to know why the left struggles so much, is because we identify with our enemies. It's a mental illness on the left. Like, it is legitimately a mental, like, I don't know how else to describe it. You're not Jesus Christ, okay? Can you stop? Just say, this guy is, of all the centrists, he's talented, but I think that his positions on Israel and his votes for Donald Trump's cabinet and his votes for the Lake and Riley Act have him really out of touch based on policy. And right now, when he's running in a purple state, and it's in no one's interest to highlight those foibles, he's popular. But in the crucible of a Democratic primary, those positions are going to come to light, and it's going to undermine his popularity. I think a lot of people have moved on beyond the Obama empty suit rhetoric style, where you look out into the mid distance like you're a visionary, but you really stand for nothing. That's not going to work, I don't think. And if it does, I think the country's in trouble because we need change. And John Ossoff, the rich capitalist son of a leather manufacturing fortune, is probably not the guy that's going to reach in there and be a class traitor. So politically, he's talented, but policy-wise, he's out of step. And I have a lot of doubts that he can make the appropriate pivot needed to make the changes to rescue this country from imminent fascism. That's the type of analysis I want to hear. This idea like, he went viral. Guys, he went viral. Did you see that he had a speech that went viral? I got to put my name next to him. He has a viral speech. I got to put my name next to the viral speech. It's like, how many times do we need to learn this fucking lesson, man? How many fucking times do we need to learn this lesson? He sounded like Obama, and they had a camera angle where there was light shining behind him, and his sleeves were rolled up, and he was kind of half flexing his forearm. It's like, come on, man. Can we stop? Can we stop? Can we be real? Not sponsoring a minimum wage increase, does not sponsor Medicare for all, does not sponsor college for all. He voted to fund ICE, voted to fund the National Defense Authorization Act. You know, he voted for Israeli funding, block bomb sales to Israel, voted no. That was back in, last year. He voted to cut Medicaid for states that cover immigrants charged with certain offenses. 91% of Democrats voted against cutting Medicaid from states. Only him, Cortez Masto, and Maggie HASAN voted yes. Fucking John Fetterman voted no. I mean, voting to the right of 92% of Democrats on cutting Medicaid. Like, that's insane, guys. He voted for the crypto bill, and then he skipped a bunch of bills where he didn't even show up. What the fuck was he doing in June of last year? Missing votes. John Ossoff is not sponsoring a minimum wage increase. It's just like, what do you want me to say, dude? Like, come on, man. And here's the thing. Imagine a centrist talking about AOC. That's how you know our fucking left-wing commentators are problematic. Imagine a centrist commentator talking about AOC and saying, AOC is very talented. She's an attractive young woman. She's really marshaled the left in New York City, and she's very popular among the Democratic base. Would they stop there? No, they'd be like, but she's way too far to the left. She's radical on all these issues, and I think it would really hurt us in the swings. Like, they would be poo-pooing her electability straight up. They would be finding every excuse as to why she sucks. But again, what's wrong with the left? I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Basically had to allow Bernie to have influence on the labor side and Warren on the antitrust side. And a lot of great policies came out of that. Yeah. Again,
overrated bullshit.
Passed the American Rescue Act in February of 2020.
What you're saying is, and I think a lot of people said that Biden was one good skill he had was he understood where the party was and where he needed to be.
He was a weather vane.
And will John Ossoff do that? Maybe.
Will John Ossoff do that? And by
the way, he's not the only person who wins in November and becomes a kind of top runner and rider. If James Tallarico wins Texas by some miracle and the polls are showing him up against Paxton, doesn't he automatically
What the fuck is wrong with these guys? I do not get this fucking brain, man. I don't get this brain, man. Tallarico, if you want to lose Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin by 20 points, you nominate James Tallarico. Like, I don't know about you guys, but the type of white men who vote Democrat in those states are pretty much 180 degrees opposite of a James Talrico. To put it too fine a point on it, a kind of a Bible thumping kind of navel gazy, about to break out in song guy does not play in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Detroit. I'm sorry, it's just not it, man. It's just not it. It's not happening, man.
The Republican governor, a Republican governor though, would fill his seat, which becomes a problem.
Do you guys remember when the clip? Maybe you guys can find it me. The clip of Pete Buttigieg walking at a UAW picket line, and how awkward it was. That he goes like, "How big is your guys' strike fund? How long do you think you could hold out?" It was like a McKinsey consultant going to like measure the morale of the strikers so he could give a report for how long they're going to hold out before the strike breaks. Like a Pinkerton detective. Those guys cannot play in the Rust Belt. If you try to nominate them, they'll fucking lose. I don't know what else to say. Like, it is just not it, man. Like, Southern effeminate guys are not going to play in Detroit or Pittsburgh or Philly. Like, they just don't, okay? There's a reason why Lindsey Graham was never the Republican nominee, okay? It's not happening.
Yeah, what's the level of optimism this weekend?
Well, as long as they're talking.
Better talking than not talking, I guess.
Exactly.
Huh?
Yes.
Now, what resources do folks have in the interim? Is there any kind of bridge program or something to get folks through? Or
the Northern Nevada Food Bank.
Okay.
We have the strike
They're
fund.
kicking in.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you feel like the strike fund can? I guess as long as it takes.
Yeah.
I can't believe this guy has no support among black voters. You think these guys are gonna fuck with this guy? These are the guys who vote Democrat in the Northeast. Do you think these guys are fucking with Pete? Like, honest to God. I actually think it's batshit crazy to like John Ossoff or James Talrico. Maybe that works in Georgia. Maybe that works in Texas. I don't know. I don't understand it, okay? But I gotta tell you, I know Pennsylvania. And these guys will chew this motherfucker up. Look at their faces, bro. Are you serious with this shit?
They got a pretty good chunk of money in the fund. It's been 12 years since our last strike, so hopefully that'll secure it.
Placard down, energy nil. How long will your strike fund last, worker? How long? 1 day longer than Pete. I don't know. This fires me up. I don't know why this pisses me off so much. Because it just stinks. It just fucking stinks. And then I have to read other leftists repeating this shit. And it's just like, nah, dude. These guys are our enemies. Did you see how Andy Bashir went on the news and said socialism is a failed project? Why the fuck would you say that in the middle of a fucking, of an election cycle midterm? What the fuck are you talking about? Why would you bother? Because he's our enemy. Stop spending your time boosting these people. I'm tired of it. Get a sense of politics, man.
And dare I say, Abdul El-Sayed wins in Michigan.
I just think 2 years, being a senator for 2 years is a tough proposition. I mean, even Obama did four. And so...
Although I should remind people, the morning after Barack Obama won in 2004, the very first question at his very first press conference was, are you running for president in 2008?
I was at that speech. People, at the DNC, people were talking about that. But he coasted in.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Obama that people could project stuff onto him in any way they wanted, because his election, I don't know if you remember that senatorial election, they had two candidates. The first guy had to drop out because of a scandal with his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Then it was Alan Keyes, who was a complete lunatic. And so Obama just sort of coasted
Also,
in.
in 2004, there was no social media. There was no Republican machine. You had Fox, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But you didn't have what you have today, which is immediate branding of people, disinformation. Like what
they tried to paint him as like, like
yeah, and it was much harder to do that then.
Well,
now, I mean,
right.
the explosion in Islamophobia we're going to see in the next 3 months against Abdul al-Sayed, it's going to be like nothing we've seen.
Huge. It's gonna
forget Zoran Mamdani, forget Barack Obama, forget Ilhan Omar. They are going to throw the Islamophobic kitchen sink at Abdul al-Sayed. They're already doing it, saying he hates America. He's doing his full name. Ooh. And I think that's going to be a problem. Okay, who do you want it to be?
Who do I want it? Again, like I would love to see John Ossoff come out.
But if you waved a wand, you wouldn't say AOC or Ro Khanna.
I mean, I personally feel like I would like AOC to be senator from New York.
Okay. So
and
take Chuck Schumer out.
And I think it's just sort of like, I think the left in this country needs more power.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just say this. Our country cannot survive with another cycle of neoliberalism. Like we can't survive, and like there, and if you think like, and I do think this is a division between me and Sam. If you think Joe Biden was a good president, you need to step down from commentary. He was a bad president. He did not accomplish anything. Like if you want to do like Democratic Party spin, where you try like, oh, he did this and he did that because you're trying to spin, that's one thing. But if you honestly believe he was a good president, you're insane. On every measurable metric, the country got worse, which is why he was thrown out on his ass and had to drop out, because the country did not get better. He failed to pass his agenda. At some point, there was like a PolitiFact, like promise keeper, Biden promise tracker. I think they just stopped updating it at a certain point. Okay, I guess and most of the quote promises kept are like COVID under control. It's almost all COVID related shit. No tax increase for anyone making less than 400. Wow, they didn't pass a tax increase. Oh, he invested $300 million in cops program. Like this stuff is so bad. Like look at the promises kept. Stuff that you could do through a stroke of the pen on day one, and it doesn't really substantially change anything in the country. He really did nothing. Let's go to the promises broken. Restore ACA's contraceptive mandate and the online sale of firearm and ammunition. Create a pathway to citizenship. Award federal contracts to companies that make all products in the U.S. Update the Voting Rights Act. Create a public credit reporting agency. Introduce a constitutional amendment to eliminate private dollars from federal elections. Increase transparency of election spending. Require all federal candidates to release tax returns. Restrict super PACs. Make colleges and universities tuition free. Make 2 years of community college free. Ban the manufacture and sale of assault rifles. Provide Section 8 vouchers to families. Eliminating cash bail. End pay discrimination. Increase the minimum wage. 7 days of paid sick leave. Eliminate mandatory minimums. Offer universal preschool. Guarantee 12 weeks of paid leave. Establish an offshore tax policy. Change tax codes so pharmaceutical production stays in the U.S. Prevent the White House from interfering in federal investigations and prosecutions. Offer a public option. Put Social Security on a pathway. Enact the Equality Act, which is queer rights. Codify Roe v. Wade. Repeal the Hyde Amendment. End for-profit. Rejoin the Iran nuclear deal. Restore voting rights. Support the study for reparations. Block fracking. Again, all the substance, he failed. He was a fucking loser. And if the country does this again, like John Ossoff, and here's the other thing I want to say. Like if they try to nominate John Ossoff, I'm not just going to go to war against the Democratic Party. I'm going to actively try to do what I can to immediately do a dirty break of the left and the DSA from the Democratic Party. I'm going to do everything I can against a John Ossoff Zionist genocide-led party. You didn't learn your lesson with Kamala. We'll do it again. We're never going to allow a Zionist to be in charge of the Democratic Party and support that party. That's just not happening. We need to go back to the apartheid. We need a pro-apartheid candidate. Insane. I didn't realize Sam was on the John Ossoff train. I got to do more anti-Ossoff propaganda.
Because we have seen, like, El Sayed is a great example. It's tough when you have the Republicans and a slice of the Democratic Party, the one that has a lot of the power, fighting against this person.
Build Back Better didn't pass. Build Back Better failed. It did not pass. Are you guys okay? They did not pass Build Back Better. It failed.
Strategically, have AOC in the Senate, Abdul El-Sayed in the Senate, other Troy Jackson in the Senate, have progressives in there to help a Democratic president's agenda.
Yes, to help and to push it to the left,
yes.
and to realize like the center of the politics. I mean, I would be afraid of.
So when we were talking about electing devs, we were just talking about under Trump to limit his power. Yes, I am doing what I can to get the Republicans out of power. But if the Democratic Party is going to become Republican light Zionism, where they ban Palestinians like John Ossoff wants, like John Ossoff, I need you guys to understand something. Like, I am a substantive content creator. I don't care about the what's going viral. I don't give a fucking shit about what's going viral. If you saw a speech with John Ossoff where he's looking into the distance or whatever the fuck you hogs like slop eating, I don't give a shit. I care about the policies the person supports. And his policy record is among the worst that a Democrat has ever had in American history. He may be one of the worst senators that has ever been in the Democratic Party, going back to Dixiecrat era shit. Okay, that's the level of bad he is. He's kind of in the tradition of a Southern Dixiecrat. I need you guys. John Ossoff is underhated. Like honestly, it should not be comfortable to recommend John Ossoff. People should go nuclear on you when you talk up this scumbag. It should be uncomfortable. And everybody who's like progressive should see him for what he is, which is an op. And I'm sorry that I have to keep saying this. Stop bringing corporate ops as if they're good people. Pete Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer, Andy Beshear, John Ossoff. How many times do I have to teach you the same lesson? How many times? We have limited political power, and our goal should be boosting it. And AOC, yes, running for president is risky. Who gives a fuck? What are you, her manager? And Ro Khanna ain't it.
AOC losing at this point in her career, presidential.
That's a good point.
She's fucking what? She's 36 years, 37 years old. Who gives a shit? Who fucking cares? Just run it for Congress and run for president. Who gives a shit?
Do you support the Green New Deal?
No.
Do you support Medicare for all?
No.
Do you support DC statehood?
Yes.
Do you support Puerto Rican statehood?
Yes.
Do you support defunding the police?
No.
Do you support abolishing ICE?
No.
Do you support expanding the Supreme Court?
No.
Do you support ending the filibuster?
Maybe.
Do you support the Green?
Imagine not wanting to expand the Supreme Court when we had multiple Supreme Court seats stolen. First in the 2000 election, which was a stolen election. They let them steal the 2000 election because they were scared about the implications of fighting for their own political power. Pathetic, weak party. Honestly, the Democratic Party should have been destroyed after 2000. The fact that they let them steal an election and they didn't do anything to fix it. Barack Obama, how do you see them steal it and then not do anything to fix it? That's crazy. Anyway, they stole the 2000 election, multiple Supreme Court judges. Then they stole a Supreme Court appointment from from Obama, where they had, 335 days or something, where they held it open and wouldn't have let him appoint a centrist moderate. And now you're like, no, I don't want to expand the Supreme Court. If it can be done, it will be done. This is what I want you guys to understand. If the Democrats don't expand the Supreme Court, let's imagine that somehow through a miracle, the Democrats win in 2028 and a bunch of Republican justices die or retire, right? And the Democrats get a 5-4 majority. I want you to imagine that. And then the Republicans win a trifecta. They'll expand the Supreme Court immediately because it's legal to do. So the idea of we'll hold off because we don't want the Republicans to do it. If it's legal, they'll do it. If they're allowed and permitted under the Constitution to do it, they will fucking do it. So the idea of holding off as some sort of strategy, that is capitulation to what? Corporate fascism. The only reason the Republicans haven't done it is because they don't have to. Again, the Republicans have appointed, I think it's 21 Supreme Court judges. I tweeted it, so I can look up my own tweet. But the Republicans have appointed 21 of the Supreme Court justices since 1970. I think the Democrats have 7. Okay, hold on. I can type. I swear to God. I want to say it was since 1970. I had a tweet on it. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is a different tweet, which is, can you imagine? I mean, there hasn't been a majority of Democratic appointees on the Supreme Court since 1970. 53 years ago, but hey, Democrats are playing the long game. Well, that was 3 years ago. So it's 56 years. It's been 56 years since the Democrats have had a majority of appointments on the Supreme Court. Why is that? I think Richard Nixon made 5 or 4. He made like 5 or 4 appointments, and Ronald Reagan made 4. So, like, you know, what are we even doing here? Like, what are we even fucking doing? And Trump has made 3, and Obama made 2. Trump did 3 in his first term, and Obama did 2 in 2 terms. Just so you get a sense of how the system has been working. And again, I only say this shit and I only go nuclear on this stuff because it's like, we need a left that is like actually aware of what's going on.
A long career ahead of her, we hope. Okay, got to ask this before you go. A lot of people don't know that you're not just a host of the Majority Report and a wax lyricaler on American politics. You're also an actor. You've been in lots of things. I didn't know till we did the show that you were in Spin City.
I wasn't.
I used to watch Spin City back in the UK.
I did a couple.
Growing up, younger man.
I did a couple episodes of Spin City.
So when I used to watch it, who were you in that shit? Was it Michael J. Fox or Charlie?
Like, I'm not just like, I don't want you guys to think that I'm like, I am not persuadable when it comes to John Ossoff or Josh Shapiro. Like, I cannot be convinced to vote for them ever. If somebody is a Zionist in 2026, they're unelectable. Mike, check this out real quick. Like, I'm not persuadable. Yeah. We talked about this already. Let me finish this. I'm mauling
It was Michael
already.
J. Fox.
Okay, the
I
OG.
did a couple episodes. I was hired.
Which is a political comedy, by the way. It's about a mayor in New York.
I was hired as a sign language interpreter for the mayor.
Okay.
And didn't have any sign language skills. And so, but I did a 2-episode run on that. I was on Sex and the City back in the day.
Bob's Burgers.
I am still a voice on Bob's Burgers.
Even today?
Yes, I play Hugo, the health inspector.
Okay.
And a couple other voices. And I just, it had been basically a decade since I did, I think the last acting, you know, like.
You've just done a secret acting gig.
I just did I'm a guest on a pretty high profile show that's in its 2nd season.
Coming out soon?
It'll come out, I think, in April of next year.
And I can't tell you, but Sam told me the role he's playing. It's not a Sam Cedar role.
There was a lot of great actors I got to work with on this show that was really fun for me. But I, you know, they make you sign something. Don't tell me, because in this day and age.
But you're going to be surprised when you're watching this show and you see Sam Cedar pop up and you see his job description. You'll be like, I didn't see that coming.
No, I think you probably won't see that coming.
All right. So while we wait for that secret show to come out, remind everyone where they can see you more normally.
You can watch Sam Cedar on The Majority Report, co-hosted by Emma Vigeland, who I'm sure people are familiar with every day on YouTube.
Have you talked to Hassan about not glazing Ossoff? Listen, I've made my position well known in that community, and I feel like it's already happened. I feel like everybody already understands my position as never glaze a centrist. That has always been my position. You'll never, ever see me glazing a centrist. I will never glaze a centrist. If a centrist goes viral, I say steal the clout and then talk about how shitty they actually are. And now we're starting to finally see the dam is starting to break.
Ossoff is near attendance 2028 pick. Time to screw your head on straight. Guys, oh my God. I just said he's a fucking liberal sloppulist, a liberal populist, and he's good on comms.
He's not even a sloppulist. He's not even, he doesn't support populist policies. He's not even that. It's not even true. What do you think about the one Korea Trump Juche arc? I mean, basically it just shows like Donald Trump is a typical bully. He only respects people that can punch him in the nose. So paradoxically, the countries that have sovereignty because they've resisted American imperialism, like China, like Russia, like North Korea, whether or not they're good or bad, he respects that. He respects the sovereigns. He doesn't respect our vassal states. He thinks they're pathetic losers, and he wants to bully them for more because he has the mindset of a schoolyard bully. And say what you will about North Korea, but it withstood the world. Like, they had China and Russia on the sanctions on North Korea. It was almost universal sanctions. They had fucking Switzerland condemning North Korea, okay? Like, the fact that they managed to survive and break out of that, and their government did not fall, and they developed a nuclear weapon, and now their economy is growing and they've recovered. What other system could have survived that? That's insane. So that, I think, is what Donald Trump is respecting.
He could be a unique candidate if he repositions some of his stances, and you guys never let me live it down. Jesus Christ, dude. When did I say John Ossoff is my fucking favorite pick? I've never said that.
All I want is for you to stop and again, Hasan is free to have whatever takes he wants. My point of view is I believe that you should stop handing it to our enemies. When John Ossoff starts popping off, show the clip about him voting, show him voting for Israel's money. John Ossoff starts popping off, show the clip of him voting against the Medicare for all. Okay? Like, we need to be fighting against him. And the same thing with every other centrist. I have kept quiet on these centrists during the midterm because I want the Republicans out of power. Okay? I want as many Democrats elected right now so the Republicans are out of power. And then maybe we could add DC as a state or Puerto Rico as a state, get a lot more Democratic senators in there so there's more ability to put pressure on any individual senator so that we could get big policies passed in 2029. All right? Like, that's my long-term thinking. I am not, that's why I've kept quiet about James Talrico or John Ossoff. But it's starting to become non-viable because apparently too many of you are convinced that me being quiet about someone is evidence they're good. No. I've been quiet about them because I'm focused on defeating the fascist threat. But I'm not gonna let people glaze these motherfuckers. DSA's official position is an independent Puerto Rico. My feeling on Puerto Rico is self-determination, final status. All right? Like, that's my position. If Puerto Rico wants to be completely independent, cool. If they want to be a state, cool. But no longer continuing the status quo. Status quo needs to end. Self-determination. Determined now.
Jesus Christ.
What's the limit for tolerating centrists if it unseats Republicans? The limit is there a progressive alternative? If there's a progressive alternative, I always choose the progressive alternative. That's it. But right now, it's very clear that the Republican Party is a cult, and the Republican Party is fascist, and the Republican Party is anti-democratic. And just like Stalin allying with Churchill, I'll ally with scum that I hate just to defeat the greater threat. And that's the condition we're currently in. We're in a serious issue where we need a popular front, blah, 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 blah. But I recognize these people as not our friends. LOL, Puerto Ricans has voted many times to stay as they are. They would become a state if they could. That's because there's always this third option. There's always this third option, or the feeling they wouldn't be allowed to become a state, or all this other bullshit, and it is a colonization extractive position that is not legitimate. And if we communicate to the people of Puerto Rico, you must choose statehood, lose citizenship, you're no longer American, you have complete independence, you're allowed to declare bankruptcy, you're going to have to start your own currency and all those other things, or statehood. There is no other alternative. Pick one, okay? Pick one. There is no staying as it is. That's not allowed. That's colonization. It's over. Let them choose.
Bro, you just said he was your GOAT. That's my GOAT. Yeah, John Ossoff. I love him.
Well, I feel like the tide is turning. I mean, I just think we should skip the process of ever pretending to like these guys. Why the fuck are we pretending to like these guys at all? They don't do anything. Look at these John Ossoff speech, the John Ossoff. Let's show you this stuff,
Before the Senate, refusing to recant.
Hold on, let me see if I can find. Here it is. Hold on. Here he is. He's talking about the ballroom, guys. This is what people are glazing.
What an absolute crook. Aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, they've now been at sea for 240 plus days without a port call. It's a Navy record. And still they serve with excellence. And still they serve with excellence. God bless the sailors, Marines, aviators, and all aboard the United States.
God bless their illegal war in Iran. God bless their bombing of children in high school and elementary schools. God bless them.
Abraham Lincoln. See, they don't expect luxury. They'll endure hardship.
That's why we've got to increase the spending on the Pentagon so that our sailors have more luxurious warships.
But they deserve competent leaders who send them into combat only when necessary, and with decisive clarity of purpose, not fools who lie about the purpose and progress of war. And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings.
I mean, that's all this is. That's all this is. It's just lib slop. And again, this only appeals to libs. So all these people going like, oh, centrists. Centrists are so good at appealing to across the aisle. This is just slop for libs. This isn't populism. This is lib slop. In what way is that populism? In what way is this serving the interests of regular people?
And trade stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
The Emir of Qatar that John Ossoff, if president, would immediately have a fucking sit down with and glaze because they're an American puppet kingdom that serves our interests in the Middle East.
And above all, Donald wants to get money. He's trying to get money. And you saw now.
Hey guys, have you heard? I've got a brand new political idea. Trump bad. Yo, Trump. Yo, did you know he's a Cheeto? Yo.
He's offering paid subscriptions to presidential announcements, right? Just understand what's for sale here. The sitting president's pronouncements on war and peace and economic policy delivered first to paying customers? What an absolute crook.
Yo, dude, yo, have you heard Cheeto bad? It's only been going on for fucking 12 years now.
With excellence.
There it is. They're serving our country with excellence.
The kind of politics we have now, where the left is represented by this kind of Obama-Macron-style centrism, where you're both for the market and for bureaucracy at the same time, is kind of horrible, right? The only possible appeal of that kind of politics is, well, at least they're not Nazis, right? So what they want is the left to be this kind of mishmash of bureaucratic market centrism and the right to be outright fascist. To set the ball rolling in an actual left direction will make that centrism look like utterly unappealing. In France, sometimes they talk about the extreme center, and I think that's a fitting phrase. It strikes me that what's called the moderates are the most immoderate people possible. And the reason why they're so uncompromising, I think, is because they realize they don't have a lot of positive arguments. They're not really for anything. I mean, somebody like Obama, the reason he worked was because he looked like the kind of guy who would have a vision. He acted like a visionary. He had the intonation. He had the way of standing and looking into the distance like he really believed in something. And it shows you something about just how much visionary politics has been killed. It didn't even seem to occur to people to ask what his vision actually was, right? Because it turns out, insofar as he had a vision, his vision was not to have a vision. You know, he believed in pragmatism and compromise and so forth. And that's what the center has been reduced to. It's become this pure set of performative symbols. And at the same time, you get to feel morally superior, which is ultimately what centrism, what liberal centrism is all about, is the ability to feel better than other people. So there is a kind of a symbiosis whereby the right wing pretend to be stupid, like George Bush II sort of perfected this, like I'll act like a yokel, all of the liberals will make fun of me as an idiot, everybody who resents the sort of cultural elite for having monopolized all the good jobs will look at them sneering at me and say, yeah, I bet those guys feel the same way about me as they feel about Bush, I'll vote for Bush, ha ha ha, stick it to him, right? You know, that shtick, Trump is just doing it in a more extreme version of the same thing. Johnson's doing the same thing. You know, you act like an idiot, the
Nigel
people
Farage.
who are sort of educated elite make fun of you, and it works. Now, who's really the idiot, right? People keep falling for the same stupid trick over and over and over again. So there's a symbiotic relationship between these centrists who are just sort of sneering elitists and these guys who are the scam artists who pretend to be yokels, who pretend to be idiots, or pretend to be fascists. They're not even real fascists. They're kind of phony fascists. They are trying to set up a situation where those are the only two viable political choices because they both feed off and complement one another.
And that, you know, I mean, is there any better description of a John Ossoff versus JD Vance campaign than that? And I think that, you know, at this point, if you're supportive of John Ossoff, then I don't think you can call yourself even center left. I think you should recognize yourself as a right winger. And if you don't consider yourself a right winger, then you need to have a fucking sanity check because this guy is on the right fringe of the Democratic Party. Now, there might be a justification for it. He's in a state that Trump won twice, right? Georgia is a purple state, so maybe there's a justification for him being more right wing. But president, leader of the Democratic Party, absolute gobbledygook. Barack Obama, when he won, at least he ran. At least we hadn't fallen for it before. At least we had the excuse of fool me once, shame on you. Okay? Fool me twice, shame on me. And John Ossoff is like, what, the fifth fooling? Like, how many times are you going to get fooled before you can't get fooled again? Liberal centrism's performative superiority is what led liberals to Zionism because they could performatively pretend to be against bigotry Jewish people historically faced. But because there's no substitute to it and it's all symbols, the humanity of Palestinians is erased and reduced to how the Nazis treated Jews. Exactly. That's why if someone's a Zionist in 2026, they would murder you. What separates you from a Palestinian? For their own political power, their own advantage. Like if somebody could look at what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank and declare themselves to be in support of the state doing it, they would be willing to do the same to you. And in the context of flock cameras and Palantir and all this corporate fascist oligarchic systems they're building, you're gonna trust fucking John Ossoff because what? A speech went kind of half viral. You can't even name anything that he said in it. What, he kind of did some Trump bad slop? You fucking pathetic losers. Like, get your shit together. Get your fucking shit together. Have some self-respect. I'm sorry, but it's not okay. Like, I think liking our enemies is batshit crazy in 2026. These people, like, what are you doing? It's, you know, like, goddamn, man. And he's not even a good politician. He's the second best politician that's a Democratic senator from Georgia. He's not even better. Like, the fact that they're not saying Raphael Warnock and they're saying John Ossoff is fucking racist. The Green New Deal is popular. Abolishing ICE is popular. Raising the minimum wage is popular. And Medicare for all is popular. Fucking dipshit. All right, everybody, I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you get out there and vote for Oliver Larkin and Elijah Manley. They're down in what, Florida's 25th and 20th? Is that the races? What are the districts again? But anyway, go out there, vote. You have some extra time, throw in some door knocks or phone calls for the both of them. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe. Solidarity forever. And I hope we have some good news. I'll see you guys tonight. Solidarity forever. You need to talk about Ossoff more often. I don't want to because he sucks and he's boring. It's like people have invented an idea of John Ossoff in their mind that's different than the guy who actually exists. All right, everybody, stay safe, solidarity forever, and have a good one. Peace.